everyone, and happy Taco Tuesday. Welcome to the opening drive on 101 ESPN in St. Louis. We're at 7 o'clock. Your time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Brooke Grimsley is here. Danny Mac is out today. Matthew Rocc, Randy Carricker. Great to have you with us. Good morning. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. How was your day yesterday, Randy?
It was good. We played golf out at Glen Echo, site of the 1904 Olympic golf tournament. First gold medals ever awarded in the Olympics were awarded right here in St. Louis in 1904. Were you aware of that?
Oh, I knew that it happened here, but yeah.
Yeah,
wow.
So first gold medals. You didn't have gold medals in the initial one in Athens. You had gold, silver, bronze awarded here first, and gold medals for golf in the 1904 Olympics. Apparently, there was a Canadian dude that won the Olympic gold. There were like 15 Americans and a Canadian guy won gold. It was it. It was like 15 Americans. Nobody from Scotland or whatever came over. And so, yeah, it was fun to play. The St. Louis Sports Commission got us together and had a chance to get out and play Glen Echo and had a great time.
And the weather, did it work for you?
Weather was fantastic. We were supposed to tee off at 9. The rain stopped by 9:30. We were on the course by 9:45. It drained perfectly. We drove on the fairway. It was great.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
nice.
Matthew says, unbelievable. Yeah, it was great.
We need to get the Olympics back here.
Yeah, we do that. We need to work on that. Sports Commission, go to it.
Glen Echo's just killing it.
Yeah,
I mean, that's insane. The fact that they were able to weather that storm and have people on the course. Whew.
Wow.
It is just a magnificent part of St. Louis history. It's really a great course. So that was fun. And then during the round yesterday, we learned that the Cardinals had made the trade as the trade deadline approaches at 5 o'clock St. Louis time this afternoon. But the Cardinals ahead of the game a little bit by sending Tommy Edman to the Doyers in a 3-team trade that nets the Cardinals right-handed pitcher Garrett Crochet. He used to pitch for the Nationals, now then the White Sox, now the Cardinals. And former Cardinal Tommy Pham returns. 4 prospects wind up going to the Chi Sox, and Michael Kopech, along with Tommy Edman, goes to the Doyers.
Wow. That is my first initial reaction with seeing that yesterday because, Randy, we discussed this with BK when he was on here yesterday because you saw, I'm sure, the quote in John Denton's article about when Giovanni Gallegos was DFA'd over the weekend about that there being some financial constraints. As soon as you hear that going to the trade deadline, you're like, ooh, that does not sound great. What exactly can the Cardinals do here? And the quote exactly from that article says, the Cardinals front office has been informed by management that the club is not positioned to take on significant additional salary in coming years via trade per source. So when you hear that before the trade deadline, you start to get a little bit worried. Then you find out about the 3-team trade. And I mean, hats off to John Mozeliak and co. that they were able to really pull this off because the Cardinals were able to acquire both Fedde, as you mentioned, and Tommy Pham while only surrendering Tommy Edman, who has not been a part of this big league club and everything that they've been able to do this season. And Tommy Edman, fantastic player. We've had him on. He's also one of our friends of the show with Big League Impact, and you hate to see him go. But at the same time, there were so many question marks surrounding his injury, Randy, and he was a little bit redundant with this roster and what they had, especially with the emergence of Michael Ciani as an elite center fielder. You even have Alec Burleson doing a lot more than I think people expected out of him this season, and a lot of other young emerging players. It felt like Tommy Edman might be a little bit redundant on this roster, but he is talented. This just seems like the perfect trade that they were able to work out.
Starting with Edman, I'm not so sure he was all in on playing for the Cardinals this year. I get the sense that maybe being on a rehab assignment was kind of like where he was going, and then next year he could come back, have a good year, be a free agent, and move on. He will be, if he is able to play, he'll be a perfect Dodger. And Cardinal fans, don't be upset because you've seen it with the Dodgers a million times with Justin Turner moving around, coming from he was with the Mets, and they got him on waivers, and they get a guy like Max Muncy on waivers, and he winds up playing first, second, and third base for them. Chris Taylor, Kike Hernandez. There's a million examples of the Dodgers getting a utility player like Tommy Edman and him being a really good fit for them. These are just different organizations, the Cardinals and the Dodgers will be able to exploit and utilize Tommy Edman very well. But to the Cardinals, and by the way, they got cash from the White Sox too.
Yeah.
When we talk about the financial constraints, Garrett Crochet for the Cardinals. Now, let me qualify this. For the Cardinals is a front of the rotation guy.
Yes.
Okay. If you put him with the Dodgers, if you put him with the Phillies, if you put him with even the Yankees right now, he's not at the front of the rotation guy. He's a back of the rotation guy for those teams. But for the Cardinals, he is a front of the rotation guy. It's he and Sonny Gray. So he's a good fit. He's what they needed. They needed a starting pitcher. Tommy Pham, in addition to crushing left-handed pitching this year, and the Cardinals said they wanted a right-handed bat. I was texting with a former Cardinal who played on and was with championship teams the other night. He said, something's missing with this team. And I said, maybe they just don't hate losing like your teams did. Mm-hmm. He said, that's it. He said, in fact, I can get you a quote here, but Tommy Pham hates losing. Everybody loves winning, Brooke, right? Everybody wants to be on the bandwagon. This is a really good group of guys, really nice group of players that the Cardinals have. And by the way, not saying that Tommy Pham isn't a nice guy, but we've talked before about sandpaper, about the Cardinals bringing over people like John Lackey in the past, or Will Clark in the past, or how much Tony La Russa just absolutely despises and despised losing. Tommy Pham is one of those guys that doesn't just enjoy winning, but he hates losing. And I think that'd be a good attitude to have permeate throughout this Cardinal clubhouse.
He adds grit. He's sandpaper. He's exactly what you need in there. You need somebody who is extremely, extremely competitive, which I know that these are all professional athletes here. But to your point, Randy, you need somebody who brings that next level of passion that Tommy Pham has. And we know that because we've seen that during his time here with the Cardinals. And you also mentioned, and we've talked about this before, the need for a right-handed bat. Tommy Pham fits that. And also, he does really well against left-handed pitching. So right now, the Cardinals have the National League's second lowest OPS against left-handed pitching this season at .633. Tommy Pham's OPS against lefties this season, .848, and for his career, .834. That is exactly what you need for this team. So for John Mozeliak and company to be able to pull this off, where you get two of your biggest needs. We talked about this. I said this before. Starting pitching was one of the things that I think that they needed to address. And a right-handed bat, and then bullpen. There's still time because 5 p.m. today. We'll wait and see for them to get that other bullpen arm. But getting that starting pitching, I've been talking about Eric Fedde for a while. Mm-hmm. You know that I've been a big fan. I think that it works. And I think it makes a lot of sense. And apparently, according to John Mozeliak yesterday, they've been looking at Eric Fedde for a while, even this past offseason. But obviously, there was not room for him. The other best thing about his contract is that you also have him through 2025, which ties into those financial constraints that we were talking about yesterday.
So, Fedde Chene.
Did you tell everybody about your meme that you put out there on social media yet?
I put it on the Twitter.
So you can see it. You can go see it on X right now of what Randy is referring to. He's been waiting for this moment for Eric Fedde to get here.
No, he just needs to go to the hill. So this is think about a lot of the struggles the Cardinals have had this year when they're not going well, and then think about Tommy Pham. And here's a quote from a former major leaguer. You can never take a day off. That's why this game is the toughest to be great at. It's every stinking day, and only the strongest survive. And that Tommy Pham appreciates being a major leaguer because it took so long and he had to overcome so much to get here. So he's a really good guy to have on the team. Now, with Tommy Pham here, what's the point of having Dylan Carlson if you can go get that relief pitcher for him?
Yeah.
Is Dylan Carlson going to ever be a Cardinal? You just got a guy to play in front of him. The manager said the other day, Dylan Carlson's here to hit left-handed pitching. Well, now Tommy Pham is here to hit left-handed pitching. Burleson's going to be in the outfield. It looks like Donovan kind of has taken over at second base, but Ciani is going to play center. Pham is going to get his opportunities. I just don't see a real spot at this stage of his career for Dylan Carlson. And if the Cardinals, if he still has value, and I believe he does, I think that's the perfect guy to include. I don't know if you can use him as the guy, but maybe a co-guy to go get a relief pitcher today.
Yeah, I think that that's what you need to do. That would be 100% perfect if you can pull it off. And Dylan Carlson, John Denton was able to speak to him, who we'll be talking to later on the show today. John Denton was able to talk to Dylan Carlson yesterday about things. And Carlson said, I've never experienced a fresh start because I've been here with this organization organization since I was 17 years old. Really, this is all that I've ever known. But I think that there's something to it, going somewhere new and experiencing new things. It could open new ways of thinking and new ways of playing, and it could unlock what you need to unlock. It's something that's real for some guys.
I think he probably talked to Lane Thomas over the weekend, right, who he's in the minor leagues with. He probably watches what people like Garcia and Randy Arozarena have done in their careers, and so many others, and thinks, okay, maybe a fresh set of eyes on me and a fresh start for me can benefit me. And I don't blame him for thinking that way, because it does feel kind of stale. Is that a good word for it with Dylan Carlson here?
Yeah, I think that's the best way to say it. Can we address this? Because we do keep getting some texts in about Tommy Pham and if he's a cancer in the clubhouse.
No, Tommy Pham is a winning player. That's why Buck Showalter last year with the Mets loved having Tommy Pham on his team. He goes to Arizona and he winds up being a real personality for a World Series team. Tampa wanted him and Tampa's a really smart organization. They wanted him because they're smart and they understand what players who really want to win are like. I would love to know the evidence. Is it because he hit a player on an opposing team who he thought was cheating at
fantasy football?
I would love to know what the reasons are for thinking Tommy Pham is a cancer. Has he ever been accused of taking down a good team and not allowing them to be as good as they can possibly be?
I would also say that there's two different kinds of cancers in the locker room. There's a cancer in the locker room from the front office's perspective, and there's cancer in the locker room from the other player in the locker room's perspective. Mm-hmm. And I think that may be where the line's being drawn, because I think maybe the intimation has been from certain front offices that he's been a problem in the locker room. That's because he goes in front of the media and he says, why am I not getting more at bats? I have a 825 OPS against right-handed pitching.
The best blanker you got.
And yet I'm sitting on the bench during right-handed pitching, and he'll sit down there and he'll say his own stats. And I think that rubs certain people the wrong way.
But don't you think that that's kind of the purpose of bringing him? The Cardinals are fully aware of who he is. He was here from 2014 to 2018. They know who Tommy Pham is. They know what they're getting into. You bring in grit. You bring in sandpaper. Also, a lot of veteran players on this team have played with him. Oli Marmol talked to reporters yesterday about how players mentioned Tommy Pham specifically as a player that they would like to see add to this clubhouse. If they didn't like Tommy Pham, they would not go to Oli and say, hey, we want to add this guy to our team.
Exactly. I've never encountered him in his time with the Cardinals, and then what I've read about him since, I've never encountered him to be, nobody has intimated that I have read that he's a cancer, and he was appreciated. He's outspoken, there's no doubt about it, even within the clubhouse. Was it Waino that was... Somebody was telling the story about how when he got to the team, the Cardinals were underachieving. Do you remember who it was? The Cardinals were underachieving, and he got up and he basically called guys out and said, you're underachieving. And then everybody looked around. During the time he's saying it, people are saying, who the hell is this guy? But then he gets done, and they say, he was right.
He's kind of right. Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that, with holding people accountable and wanting players to be better. I have no problem with that.
I don't know if there's something to this or not, but Bob Nightingale pointed this out on social media yesterday. This is the third time that Tommy Pham has been traded to a team with Bloom in the front office. So he was traded from St. Louis to Tampa Bay, and in 2022, was traded from Cincinnati to Boston, and then, of course, this year, traded from the White Sox to St. Louis.
So there you go. Good stuff. Thank you, Bob Nightingale. Other deals, the Braves trying to get the band back together. Brooke, when Ronald Acuna went down in 2021, they went out and they acquired Eddie Rosario. They acquired Jock Peterson. They acquired Jorge Soler, and they acquired Adam Duvall. This year, when Ronald Acuna went down, they've acquired Adam Duvall. They've acquired Eddie Rosario. Last night, they acquired Jorge Soler. Is there more of a lock at today's trade deadline than the Braves getting Jock Peterson from Arizona?
They really are putting the band back together, aren't they?
Yeah. They get Soler, Atlanta does, along with Luke Jackson, who was also on that 2021 Braves team, for lefty Tyler Matzek and an infield prospect. Frankie Montas to the Milwaukee Brewers for bench players, so the Brewers fortify their starting pitching. The Dodgers got Ahmed Rosario from the Rays for a pitching prospect. Astros made a nice move and getting Yusei Kikuchi from the Blue Jays for a group of high-ranking prospects. Lane Thomas moves to the Guardians. They had been interested, apparently, in Tommy Pham. They get Thomas as a consolation prize for 3 prospects. The Mariners get the big bat everyone thought that they needed. Justin Turner, by the way, he's another guy that played a bunch of positions and played well for the Doyers over the years. And then the Royals, last year Philadelphia got Michael Lorenzen down the stretch. The Royals get Michael Lorenzen from the Rangers down the stretch, so they get a guy that can pitch and be their DH if they need him to.
A lot of moves yesterday, but the Cardinals honestly stands out to me just from the financial constraint standpoint.
Yeah, and I get it. The Bally thing won't be determined. The Cardinals own 30% of Bally, so I get it from that perspective. And one thing that Bill DeWitt has said consistently is the reason that we can make big moves, the reason that we can go get a Larry Walker or a Matt Holliday or a Smoltz or a DeRosa is because our fans are supporting us. We get great fan support. Well, they get great fan support because they're winning, right? And now you aren't getting 40,000 a game like the Cardinals ordinarily do. It's 32, 35, 37 a game because they aren't winning. So when so much of your revenue is generated from ticket sales and people aren't coming to the games, it's kind of a vicious circle that you're kind of stuck in terms of what you're generating from a revenue standpoint and what you can pay your players. The only workaround is if you can get the same amount of people to come for more money. And I think that's been proven in this town, at least, that people don't want to pay more for tickets.
I think winning product. People will always show up for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So unless you're in the playoff hunt most of the year now. And they don't show up.
Yeah.
But, hey, you got Max Scherzer pitching tonight. Tickets available. Go to Cardinals.com. Scherzer and Lynn, who, by the way, had a fabulous season for the Texas Rangers a few years ago. He had his best season for the Rangers a few years ago. That'll be an old-school, feisty matchup with 2 gritty old guys.
Lance Lynn, yeah. What year is this, by the way? We're getting
really.
Tommy Pham back. Lance Lynn is on the mound starting for you tonight. Matt Carpenter hit a home run. What is going on?
Yeah. Coming up, if this is the only move the Cardinals make, is this a successful deadline for Mo and company? That's next on 101 ESPN.
ESPN, brought to you by Sumner One.
The MLB Trade Deadline at 5 o'clock this afternoon, St. Louis time, and the Cardinals still would like to get a relief pitcher. And it appears, Brooke, and a lot of relief pitchers have been moved, and teams have been really proactive. And I think some of them, especially the Mets and the Padres, teams that the Cardinals are battling for a playoff spot, they've been very proactive and done really good things with their bullpen. But there are still relief pitchers out there, and the Cardinals still have some chips. So the question becomes, if the acquisitions of Fedde and Pham are the only ones the Cardinals make at the deadline, is this still a successful deadline? I would say yes, because they gave up a guy that they haven't and probably were not going to use in 2024 for two very useful pieces in the last 2 months of the season, and one, Fedde, who will definitely be back next year as part of their rotation. So in terms of making your team better, yes, this will be a successful trading deadline. If you're trying to win playoff series and your manager's pretty consistently said that our bullpen is running on fumes, then I don't think it is reasonable to say that it was a successful trade deadline, even though you're adding Andre Palante to the pen, and he's been good. He's been a good relief pitcher in the past. I still think that they need another arm or two down in that bullpen. And by the way, wouldn't break my heart to see them get a left-handed reliever with the recent performances of Liberatore and Romero. And John King has been really good this year. He is what he is. But I think the Cardinals need some help from the left side, too. Tanner Scott is very appealing to me. I don't know if the Cardinals have what it takes to get him, but he's very appealing.
Yeah, I think everybody wants Tanner Scott at this point. He's the top reliever that is out there that is available. I'd be interested to see what it would take to get Tanner Scott. But at the same time, I still consider this a very successful trade deadline thus far. Even if you aren't able to get a reliever, which I agree with you, 100% you need. In my book, it's still 100% success because you were able to go and get a starting pitcher and a right-handed bat, two things that were very much needed for this team to, if they're making the playoffs, then they need those two things to be able to make a playoff push. We've talked about it. You have Sonny Gray as your number one. His numbers, of course, have not been great in the month of July. He has dropped off there. And I'm curious of your thoughts about that with Sonny Gray.
Well, he is what he is. And by the way, he is the Cardinals' best starting pitcher.
Yes.
But I had no expectation. I said it on the day they signed him. He is our number one, but he is not a number one. Nobody that is planning to win the World Series, with all due respect to the guy, is going to put Sonny Gray at the front of their rotation. I don't think anybody who's paid attention, who has access to Baseball Reference, should be surprised by what's happened here. And what did I say, Brooke? With his size and with where he's pitching, should we reasonably expect him to be able to pitch 6 solid months when he's going out there and pitching in 100 to 110 degree heat? And now we see how much he sweats at 5'10" and 190. He's a really good pitcher, but he's not a horse. He's not Max Scherzer. He's not Justin Verlander. He's not Chris Carpenter. By the way, I have a Carpenter comment to make here in a moment, too. Okay. But he's a really nice pitcher, a really good pitcher, but he's just not a number one. And that's not – there are less number ones than there are teams. You can't just find these guys hanging off trees. That's why I was so – enamored of the Cardinals getting Dylan Cease, who's showing himself to be a number one starter again. That is why you go out and give Max Scherzer or Justin Verlander $43.5 million if you're the Mets. Didn't work out for him. That's why if you're the Nationals, you give Max Scherzer $210 over 7. That's why when you're the Dodgers, you keep Clayton Kershaw for his entire career, because despite what has happened in the postseason, you could make an argument that Clayton Kershaw is the best starting pitcher of all time. That's why the great teams do it. That's why the Cardinals went out. They identified, with the help of Mike Matheny, that Chris Carpenter was a legit number one. And he was for the Cardinals. And you look at the record, and you look at the September record, the October record, he's remarkable. So I'm not surprised, and I'm not bothered by Sonny Gray. He is what he is.
Yeah, and with Sonny Gray, to your point, we've seen those numbers drop off. You were 100% correct. And he is the number one for this team. With Eric Fedde, with his numbers, he slots as your number 2 currently right now.
That's the front of your rotation, right?
Exactly. That is the front of your rotation. It might not be the front of rotation for other teams, but for the Cardinals specifically, yes, it is. So I think that that's perfect. Now, with Andre Pallante, his numbers have been good, but he is getting up on there in innings. And so do you move him to the bullpen? And by the way, it's not like making a trade. I'm making this joke because a lot of people say, oh, you get a player back from injury. It's like making a trade. But Steven Matz, he is starting a rehab assignment. Thursday is expected to throw about 30 pitches over 2 innings. That's somebody, Riley O'Brien, also working on a rehab assignment as well. Those are 2 players that could factor possibly back to your bullpen, and Andre Pallante, and you have Matthew Liberatore, by the way, available too. Would you be comfortable with that bullpen moving forward?
We're talking about fresh arms. I would prefer to get, and Claves has talked about this a lot with us, I would prefer to get somebody who has closing experience. But in terms of the arms themselves, I would be reasonably comfortable. But I am one of the people that believes so much that the 27th out is a different animal altogether. I would prefer to have another guy in addition to Ryan Helsley that has done that in the past.
We also keep getting this question from the 636. What about a 6-man rotation? I was thinking about this just a little bit. Now, Rocky, I know you made a noise because it's definitely not something that you see, especially here later on. But to your point about Sonny Gray, you've started to see the wheels fall off just a little bit in the month of July. Would a 6-man rotation help this team at all as they're getting through the end of this stretch going into hopefully the playoffs?
I think if you go to Gray, Lynn, Michaelis, Gibson, and say, hey, we'd like to do a 6-man rotation, I think they would all reject the idea out of hand, especially as routine-oriented as Sonny Gray has been throughout his career. I think that might be something that really bothers him. We can talk to Kyle about it next time we have Kyle Gibson on. You know Lance Lynn doesn't want to do a 6-man rotation. He's a bulldog. You know that Miles Michaelis doesn't want to do a 6-man. So I think if you had a younger rotation, maybe you thought somebody who pitchers who are more malleable.
Yes.
These guys are pretty rigid. I don't think it's going to be easy.
They need that routine. And any little thing that would throw it off would definitely throw them off.
Yeah. By the way, Pallante in his career against left-handers, 692 OPS. Against right-handers, 827 OPS. So Pallante might be your lefty reliever, although he's right-handed. He might be the guy that you bring in to face left-handed hitters. If you aren't comfortable on a particular day with Romero, if you aren't comfortable on a particular day with King or Liberatore, bring in Pallante and see if he can get the lefty hitter out. Okay, one other thing about Chris Carpenter, and we came up yesterday playing golf with some guys from KMPG, and we were talking about the comments that Garrett Crochet had made about how he wasn't going to pitch in October unless he got a contract extension. Can you imagine? Max Scherzer pitches tonight for the Texas Rangers. Can you imagine Max Scherzer or Chris Carpenter or Justin Verlander or Lance Lynn ever saying, you know what? If I don't get the contract, I'm not going to pitch in October. I don't really care about winning in October. It's as long if I don't get the contract extension, I'm not pitching in October. Can you imagine any of the all-time greats having that attitude?
Yeah, no, I can. And this is directed at Crochet.
Yeah, totally.
100%. I still am pretty shocked about that with his agent. I don't know, do you think it was his idea, his agent's idea, or who's advising him that this is the best thing to do?
I would guess it's probably his agent, but when you tell the world that you would rather you'd rather get the contract extension than compete, that's a pretty bold thing. When you walk into any clubhouse, I would think that you'll get a little side eye because people are going to question your competitive desire.
Yeah, I think so. And I think a lot of teams have questioned it as well because, look, nothing has happened with him so far. He was supposed to be one of the big names that everybody was looking at the trade deadline, and now that name is completely, it seems like, off the table.
Their general manager, Chris Getz, said that everybody backed off. Everybody that was interested backed off when they heard the agent say that he didn't want to pitch in October.
I guess he wants to stay with the White Sox, Randy.
He doesn't have to worry about pitching in October with them.
Can I ask you one last question before we go to break? Because we get this one as well from the 618. Why would you move one of your best pitchers right now to the pen, talking about Andre Pallante?
The reason is because he has recent bullpen experience. There's a different routine when you warm up as a reliever twice in a week, 3 times in a week, as opposed to being a starting pitcher and goes through that routine every single 5th day. And because people like Gray, Michaelis, Gibson, and to an extent Lance Lynn are set in their ways more, and Fedde obviously, the presence of Pallante and the versatility of Pallante allows you to do this. He knows how to warm up right now. He knows how to get ready out in the bullpen. And even though Lance Lynn has done it in the past, it's been a long time. And at that age, it's hard to get up 2-3 times a week and pitch out of the bullpen. And he's got the youth, he's got the fresh arm, and he's just the best fit for moving to the bullpen right now, even though, yes, he has been their best starter over the course of the last month.
Yeah, especially in July. He's been fantastic for the team and a godsend, but that's the way that it goes in this situation right now.
But fair question. Good question. Coming up, does yesterday's trade get the Cardinals closer to replicating the second half success of recent lower-seeded NL teams? That's coming your way here on 101 ESPN.
Now there's a way to afford everything on your back-to-school list and move your family to a better financial situation. With the Credit Builder loan from GoCredit.me, you get the cash you need while you build credit and grow savings. Apply for a loan up to $4,000 at GoCredit.me or call 888-599-5077. GoCredit.me. Restrictions may apply.
When cash is a necessity, GoCredit.me.
All right, it is July 30th. If today is your birthday, I need you to do 2 things. Download the Schnucks Rewards app and then go to Schnucks and get a free donut. If you like a sweet treat for your birthday, then Schnucks is the place to be because they want to celebrate your birthday with you with Schnucks Rewards members with a free, freshly baked donut on your birthday. It's part of the all-new personalized perks in the Schnucks Rewards app, and to get the free donut, all you have to do is add your birthday to your rewards profile in the Schnucks Rewards app. And when your birthday rolls around, whether it's today or tomorrow or any day, I know you have one. Just clip the free donut coupon in the Schnucks Rewards app and redeem the coupon at checkout. This coupon is good for your entire birthday week, so no worries if you can't make it into the store today. Here's another thing about the Schnucks Rewards app. The Cardinals hit a home run last night. Marp with a 2-run blast, and Dingers for Donuts is in play today. Use the Schnucks Rewards app to get your free donut when you head to Schnucks with your Schnucks Rewards app. Download the Schnucks Rewards app today and look out for those personal double points days and your free donuts from Schnucks.
If you're thinking of selling your home, I am sure there are 2 things you want: certainty and the most money possible, right? Hi, it's Jamie and Randy here, and if you've been listening to us for some time, you know the only agent we trust is Gloria Liu with Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, St. Louis's real estate expert. Here's why she should be your first call and only call when looking for an agent.
That's right, Jamie. Gloria doesn't make empty promises. Nope, she provides written guarantees. What does this mean for you? Certainty. Now, certainty isn't the only thing you want. You also want the most money possible. Gloria is able to get her home sellers more money than the average agent because she already has the buyers. That's why Gloria will guarantee to sell your home at your agreed-to-upon price, or she'll buy it. To get your guaranteed price, call St. Louis real estate expert Gloria Liu at 314-325-6888. That's 314-325-6888, or visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com. That's GloriaHasTheBuyers.com. Conditions apply. Gloria and seller must agree on price and possession date.
The new Luxe Cravings box from Taco Bell with cheesy, crunchy favorites, chips and nacho cheese sauce, and a drink for just $7. Try it today at participating Taco Bell stores for a limited time only while supplies last. Price and participation vary. Drinks excludes freezes. Tax extra.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Cardinals yesterday fall to the Rangers 6-3 in Game 1 of their series. Game 2 today, 6:45. First pitch will be Max Scherzer facing off against Lance Lynn. Scherzer on the season for the Rangers, 2-3 with a 3.57 ERA. Of course, that Cardinals game will be after the trade deadline closes, which is at 5 p.m. Central tonight. The Cardinals making a move yesterday, trading Tommy Edman as part of a 3-team trade that nets them starting pitcher Garrett Fedde and former Cardinal outfielder Tommy Pham. You can catch all the Cardinals and trade deadline news throughout on 101 ESPN today, including 8:45 today when we will be talking to MLB.com beat writer for the Cardinals, John Denton. That is your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
Live from the Car Shield.
They had pitching in the bullpen. That was one thing, which the Cardinals have. They lost Ronald Acuna Jr. That was a devastating injury. They went out and got Jorge Soler. They brought in Jock Peterson, and they brought in attitude. They brought in guys that had postseason experience and guys that had a resume, and it really changed the culture and changed the dynamic in that locker room. The front office gave them a jolt, and they took off. So it started with pitching, it started with defense, and then they added some guys that had some thump and had some pedigree, and on they went.
That is our buddy Chip Carey yesterday on the opening drive on 101 ESPN, talking about a team that he covered. He was a broadcaster for the 2021 Atlanta Braves, who did lose a lot of pitching during the course of the season, but got guys back and got young guys up and going in the postseason. And obviously, as we mentioned earlier, made the trades for the 4 outfielders when Ronald Acuna went down. Does the Cardinals' addition of Garrett Fedde and Tommy Pham get the Cardinals closer to replicating that sort of success? Brooke, I would like to say so, but the way that the 2 stars on this team are performing, I have trouble believing that they could do it unless somehow Goldschmidt and Arenado get red hot. One of the things about that Atlanta team was they still had Freddie Freeman and Austin Riley, even though they didn't have Acuna, and the 4 new guys certainly helped out. And They did have a good bullpen that they added to it at the deadline, and then they had really good starting pitching. And ultimately, when a team like Arizona comes out of the field last year, they did it because Brandon Pfaadt got really hot down the stretch. Obviously, Zach Gallen performed very well. They had really good starting pitching. The year before, the Phillies come out of the National League, and it's people like Wheeler and Nola that are leading the way. 2021, you've got Atlanta, as we mentioned. You had great pitching from the number 6 seed in 2019 when you had, and the Cardinals were victimized by Washington with Scherzer and Anibal Sanchez pitching the way he did, and Corbin and Strasburg. Unless you have that elite starting pitching, it really is hard to get to a level where you can be a World Series team. And here's the way I look at it. As much as I like the trade, and I think the Cardinals are improved significantly over the last 24 hours, but if I try to project, okay, how do I like Gray and Fedde against Nola and Wheeler? And that doesn't even include Christopher Sanchez and Ranger Suarez. How do I like Gray and Garrett Fedde against Yamamoto? He presumably will be back, and Kershaw or Bobby Miller or whomever. How do I like our guys even against Charlie Morton and Max Fried, who's going to be back presumably for Atlanta? If the other team's pitching gets healthy, I don't think the Cardinals stack up particularly well. However, if guys do get hurt, then the Cardinals, if they're healthy, would have a chance.
I don't even want to take the pitching out of the equation here, because what have we seen lately that has been going on with this team is just kind of the inconsistencies with them offensively. And I think that's the biggest point here, because with what you brought up with Nolan Arenado and Paul Goldschmidt, you started to see a little bit more power, to Paul Goldschmidt's credit, more than what we have seen from him. And with Nolan Arenado, you still need more from him. I mean, we got texts in this morning as soon as we came in, Randy, about Nolan Arenado and his demeanor last night, about how he's doing things that maybe would be a little bit, I would say, out of character for him. I mean, even last night, you looked at specifically, I believe it was in the 7th inning, he misplayed a high ground ball by the mound that resulted in an error. And that was just one of the things that happened in that game specifically last night. Those are not things that you should see from Nolan Arenado. Do you see anything with his demeanor lately that is kind of standing out to you?
Not particularly. I know he didn't run out a ground ball the other day, but that happens over the course of 162 games. It's just been, and I'm sure there's some frustration there, it's been a 2-year decline, Brooke. And he's better defensively this year than he was last year.
Yes.
But I have to believe, just by looking at the numbers, that this is the natural decline of a ball player that we're seeing. And sometimes it does happen to guys that are 33 years old. But he's, like Goldie, this is 2 years now. This is basically a season and 2/3 for both of them where they haven't performed like they did, for whatever reason, in 2022. And I just wonder if what we're seeing from Nolan Arenado right now is what he is.
I don't think anybody wants to see that. But to your point, if you want this team to go further than just the first round, because I think a lot of the fans' frustration, and Randy, you can tell me if I'm wrong on this, and so can people on the text line, I think a lot of the frustration stems of it's good to make the playoffs, but you want to get past the first round. Getting bounced in the first round is not enough. They haven't won a playoff series since 2019, and with the Cardinals' history here and the history of excellence that you've had for so long, I think that that's not enough for people to have that long of a drought in between with what we've seen with the organization.
But here is, and this is just my reality. This is the way I see it, okay? I look around and I see the Phillies and I see the Dodgers, and I'm not even going to include the Brewers. I see the Padres. I just don't think the Cardinals are that great. If I looked at this team, for example, if this Cardinal team were placed in Cincinnati, I'd look at the team and I'd say, yeah, they're okay. I wouldn't look at the Cardinals as great. I think sometimes because they're the Cardinals, we expect them to win. I don't. If you look at this team rationally, right now, I don't think they're that great. And I think sometimes people say, oh, we didn't win that game last night. You know why we didn't win? Because we just weren't as good as the other team. And I think that's one of the realities that a lot of people, and many times me, we need to come to grips with. Because I go day to day. Heck, Brooke, at the All-Star break, I said I thought they'd win 92 games. And that ain't going to happen.
Yeah.
But I think that if we step back and we take our roster and say, okay, let's put this roster in Seattle, what would we think of this team?
Yeah, I think that that's fair right now. And I checked this last night. They're 7 games back of Milwaukee, correct? And 2 games back of a wild card spot. So this is a very tight race. We knew that it would be. And we've said this, that this is kind of a middling team, maybe a little bit slightly above average at best. Now, you do have to give them a lot of credit for what they were able to do. I was not expecting them to make such a great comeback, but at the same time, I feel like this team is what it is, to your point. And I think a lot of it does have to do with your 2 cornerstones and them underperforming expectations. It could be age, it could be various different things, but at the same time, you need those 2 to be better than what they have been this year in order to make a full playoff push.
Yeah. I'm going to do something very quickly here, and this is just Nolan Arenado. We can do Goldie later in the show. Last year, in June, Arenado had a 967 OPS, July 925. Since then, August of last year, 709. September of last year, 509. 709, 509, the last 2 months of 2023. You move to Arenado's 2024, month by month, and this is on the heels of the big drop-off after July of last year. This year, month by month for Nolan, It has been an OPS of 687, 689, 702, and this month, 726. For the last 6 months that the Cardinals have played, he hasn't been close to what he was in his career before that. So if you want to find the delineation point, it's the end of July of 2023.
Yeah.
Whatever happened has caused him to really, we went from 925, 930 OPSs to 700 or below. That's a precipitous drop-off.
It is.
And that's the last 6 months of ball that he's played.
So you're telling me a guy who opted into a contract after being promised stopped playing well when the team started selling off?
Yeah, that's a good point.
But then there's a carryover into next year.
Correlation doesn't always equal causation. I'm just saying that's literally what happened. Is a guy opted in, and then when they decided, hey, we're not a winning team, his numbers kind of started cratering. But
he's
just
still
a weird
getting
coincidence.
paid at the end of the day. So I do understand what you're bringing up, but he's still getting paid at the end of the day to be who he is, and that shouldn't matter to him whatsoever.
I'm not even saying it's a conscious thing.
Yeah,
I'm saying that's the kind of thing that just it saps that extra. Heck, what Sonny Gray was just talking about. You got to come in here every day, and if you don't, you will lose a little bit. You will not be a major league level player that you used to be if you just give up 3% away from that 100. And that's not always a conscious thing. Sometimes it's just the environment around you no longer gets you to that 100%, and that could be what happened when a team doesn't drive you to win anymore.
Yeah. That's fair. You never know. I mean, that's something where maybe unconsciously he is thinking about that. But there has been a drop-off with Goldschmidt and with Arenado. You said it was July?
At the end of July last year, 925 OPS in July.
Isn't that also the last time that they both had... What game was it? It was in July that they had both hit a home run in the same game.
Yeah, right.
Remember?
Yep. Goldie, by the way, last year was reasonably consistent. Not great, but his OPS is June 766, July 752, August 794, September and October 709. So he had the big drop off in September, and then this year for Goldie, let me give you these, and we're going to get to Take It or Leave It coming up in just a moment. But this year for Paul Goldschmidt, month by month OPS so far 641, 682, 642, and then this month 758. So those two, for whatever, and they are the keys, but they've been right around 700 or well below for a long time now. That's Brooke. I'm Randy. Matthew is here, and we need to have you get your text in 314-399-9646, 314-399. Yo-ho! Take it or leave it. Coming your way on 101 ESPN.
Hey everyone, it's Brooke here. Is credit card debt creating a lot of stress in your life? You should go call my friends over at Golden Oak Lending. They can help with Smart Cash, which is low interest money. Let me tell you about a story that they shared with me recently about how they helped someone with Smart Cash. Amy just had her fourth child and they needed to finish the basement at their house. She and her husband put most of it on their credit card, about $20,000, but they were still paying double-digit credit card interest. They did their best paying $900 every single month, but it was just really overwhelming for them. Her dad suggested that they call Golden Golden Oak Lending to see if her home had increased in value. That way, she could use extra equity to pay off the credit cards. Sure enough, even though they had refinanced their home before, it had increased in value. Golden Oak got them their $20,000 in cash. She paid off their credit cards, and Amy is thrilled to not have a $900 monthly payment just hanging over her head. Many people just like Amy don't realize how easy it is to use their home's equity to get smart cash. If you need cash, go call my friends over at Golden Oak Lending. It's easy. They do all the work for you, and it won't cost you a penny out of pocket. Give them a call today at 314-567-GOLD-NOW to get started, or go to goldenoaklending.com and see the reviews for yourself.
That's 314-399-9646 and give us your take it or leave it.
Brought to you by Gloria Lou Realty. Visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com and start packing.
That's my final offer. Take it or leave it.
Time for Tioli here on 101 ESPN. Okay, Brooke, Matthew. It appears as if Eric Fedde is married. However,
Okay. I was like, well, all right.
we do have to get him on a show with Shanae, just so that we can have Fedde Shanae on the show.
Oh my gosh.
Fedde Shanae.
Yeah, that gets like a slow clapper. I don't know if it gets like a
Last night
full
when
clap.
when I put it on the X, somebody booed. They gave me a long boo.
They threw tomatoes at you. Yeah. Did you have some people confused, or how
No,
quickly?
they all got it because I put I put the picture and then I put Fedde and then Shanae, so they got it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I was wondering where you were going with this, with the whole marriage thing.
Yeah,
How did
well,
you
I
even
was-
figure out that he was married? You did a full deep dive on him.
Insta.
Oh, you creeped on him on Insta.
Yeah, totally.
Anything else that you found out, Randy?
That she's been down on the field with him and that he was with the White Sox.
Nothing else?
No, nothing.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, take it or leave it. I don't know if you guys saw this, but the NFL is making sure that there will be in-game interviews with coaches this year. Take it or leave it. You like that?
Yeah, I'll take that. Some coaches will be better than others. But, yeah, in general, I do like it. I just wish coaches would be reasonable. Like in the XFL, how great was our guy, Anthony Becht, on in-game interviews? There's nothing wrong on an in-game interview with giving people something about what you're seeing in the game that they might not be seeing. I would hope that the coaches would share their knowledge a little bit with the people that are actually consuming the game.
The NFL just keeps copying things from the XFL, don't they?
Yeah.
You're right. I like it with Anthony Becht. I'm just interested to see how it'll be with some of the other coaches in the NFL. And I think a lot of people are worried that it had to be specifically head coach interviews for these in-game interviews. But the NFL clarified that it can be offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators, just some coach on the team.
By the way, how great was, I don't know it was a halftime interview, but how great was the interview? Did you see the Spoelstra interview yesterday or Sunday at halftime of the USA game?
No.
He's smiling throughout the whole thing because he knows how dominant they are. And the interviewer, I forgot who it was, said, "You've been smiling this whole time. Are you comfortable?" And then he stopped smiling. He says, "Oh, no, this is a good team. We're never going to be comfortable against these guys." He knew they were going to win by 30.
Yeah. And the women's team also winning by over 30.
Yeah, pretty impressive. I'm a big Spo fan, Eric Spoelstra. He's just so fun. And there's a guy that gives good in-game interviews and tells you stuff that you wouldn't ordinarily know. So that would be my hope with NFL in-game interviews. I'm trying to think, because obviously Belichick's gone, but he would be bad. I'm trying to think who would be good for an in-game interview in the NFL right now. Kyle Shanahan, I think, that gives pretty good stuff.
Mike McDaniel.
Mike McDaniel.
Yeah.
As long as he's not screaming McVay, he can.
Well, the Harbaughs, maybe.
McVay's always.
Yeah, the Harbaughs will be good.
Oh, the
McVay's always
Harbaughs will give
screaming.
you a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, McVay and taking blame. It's
McDaniel.
Mike McDaniels will be the best.
If you screw around and like ask them like, hey, it looks like they're throwing a lot of cover 2 shell against you, and then shading it with cover 3, they will be there for 5 minutes explaining their answer to you, and that's why I kind of love those coaches.
Yeah, so
me too.
I'm trying to think, did we say Dan Campbell?
Oh, yeah, Dan Campbell.
Oh, he'll be great. Did you see that they got him a bigger podium this year?
That's hilarious.
Oh, did they? Good.
Yes.
The giant podium is hilarious.
It is. It actually works better for him.
Yeah.
They have a
Big
regular
fella.
sized running back coach, and he looks so tiny behind it.
I know. It's just last year, the podium was so small compared
and
to
he had
him
to
that,
lean down and cry.
it
Yeah.
looked like he could just smush it so easily.
Yeah. All right, what do we got on the text line, Matthew?
Take it or leave it. The most encouraging part of the trade yesterday was the Cardinals releasing their death grip on redundancy in the roster.
Oh.
No, they added redundancy. Now, granted, they did reduce redundancy because Edman and Donovan, although Donovan should be the Cardinals' second baseman, but they are redundant utility players. The thing is, you can win with a group of those if you play it right. The thing is, the Cardinals added redundancy when they added Tommy Pham to Dylan Carlson. So until they cull that herd, then they're going to have more redundancy.
You see, I'm going to take it because I think Dylan Carlson is on the way out.
I agree with
I think to the credit of what this person is saying, you've seen this team keep a lot of the same players around, basically.
Yeah. You look at the Doyers, though. Now, granted, if Tommy Pham gets healthy, if Tommy Pham would have been a healthy Dodger this year, when Mookie Betts got hurt, would he have been the shortstop? But they got Ahmed Rosario, too, until Tommy is healthy. They still have Chris Taylor. They still have Kike Hernandez. They still have Muncy. The Dodgers are great at putting, and sometimes it doesn't make any sense to me at all, but they'll play different guys at different positions every single day. They're great at it, and that's why I think this will wind up being a good trade for the Doyers, too, because Tommy Edman fits what they do perfectly.
I think the key of this Dodgers move is that it keeps them, sorry, my apologies, Doyers, it keeps them being able to have an IL that could field a starting 9 better than most of their teams.
Yeah, no doubt. And the starting rotation would be maybe the best starting rotation in all of baseball, better than what they currently have.
Just take their injured list and it's a World Series contender.
Unreal.
And take it or leave it. With the Brewers getting Montas and Williams back, the Cardinals are still a bullpen or 2 pieces away from taking the division.
I will take that. Guys, I think the one team, I think if the Pirates get a bat, I think they're the best team in the division.
The Pirates are dangerous.
They're, as our buddy Sevy would say, they're a snootful. With the back end of their bullpen, and it doesn't look to me like Chapman and Bednar are worn down.
No.
But then they get Jared Jones back and add him to obviously Skeens, but they've gotten really good work out of the opening day starter for them. Starts with a K, whatever. I'm having memory problems today. You want to you won the fight, so you want to participate in the fight. But they're
Keller?
Keller, Mitch Keller.
Oh, yeah.
They're Pirates are really good, and I honestly think right now, if they get a bat today, a right field bat, I think the Pirates are the team to beat in the division.
I think so. Especially, they just keep getting hotter and hotter, and they have so much young talent. You talked about the pitching side, but on the hitting side as well, O'Neal Cruz and some of the other guys that they have there.
Yep.
Very talented group.
Yeah.
And Paul Skeens is just has to be. Wouldn't you say like the most exciting pitcher right now in all of Major League Baseball?
He's changed baseball. He really has. Yeah, Brooke, I think you nailed it. He's maybe not. He might be the most exciting. Well, you've got Judge and you've got Ohtani. So let's just go with most exciting pitcher.
I said pitcher, yeah. I'll go with pitcher there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he's even up there. He's recognizable. People love watching him, and honestly, you tune in to see what he's doing.
Pirates and Cardinals are tied at 54 and 52. By the way, they're dead even in the standings.
Good God, we aren't going to talk about this today, but take it or leave it. We need a Chip Carey and Joe Buck game once a year. Loved listening to those two together.
Take it, yeah.
Take it.
No doubt. And you can tell that Joe was enjoying himself being back at the ballpark and doing Cardinal baseball again last night. It had been a long time. He roots for the Cardinals. Joe's emotionally invested in the Cardinals. So yeah, it was good to hear that.
I enjoyed it. That was the most comfortable, casual broadcasting I've ever seen someone do, and it was so enjoyable. I mean, that was somebody who stepped back in and just goes, "Oh yeah, back to my old stomping grounds," and he just settled right in. It was perfect.
Okay, Dan Deerdorf asked me this question one time, and I will ask you two this question. Why is it that when you go into a stadium of 30 or 40 or 50 or 60,000 people for a sporting event, the only people wearing ties are broadcasters?
Because you want to be comfortable?
You're not comfortable when you're wearing a tie. Ties choke you. You should be wearing a golf shirt like everybody else.
But I think it's just a professional thing. I understand why the broadcasters do it.
Obviously, last night, Joe and Chip were not wearing ties. They were just wearing their button-down shirts.
You're starting to see it more and more, even in broadcasting. I remember Corey Stark over at Channel 4, and I know he listens to the show.
Hi,
he would do no tie Fridays, and Randy, people would lose their minds.
Really?
They would be like, this is so unprofessional. Because it was just, they were trying to introduce it. Fridays, you're a little bit more relaxed.
Yeah, casual Friday.
Yeah, casual Friday.
No tie is
and
not
so
really
you do
casual.
the amount of emails we would get of people just being so angry he wasn't wearing a tie.
Unbelievable.
But I think that to your point, I think the perception of that has changed a lot over the years.
There was a guy, Don Sutton's son, Darren, at Bali, Arizona, got fired because he insisted on wearing a suit rather than the Bali golf shirt. He got whacked because of that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Remember when the NFL didn't allow, they had to get special
for
deal
Del Rio and Nolan.
For Del Rio and Nolan to wear suits. And it confused the hell out of me because I was like, if a guy wants to wear a suit on the sideline, hell, if he wants to put a hat on and go full Tom Landry, shouldn't you embrace that and be like, yes, please, that'll be a great thing for us to talk about. It'll be a fun, different look for a coach on the sideline. And they were like, no, we have to get a special brand deal for you to do it 3 times a year.
So they had Nike actually make suits for these coaches.
Wow.
It was the dumbest thing in the world.
Which one wore the hat?
No, neither of them did. I'm saying they should have gone full
I thought
all the
somebody
way
wanted to go fedora.
Yeah, it kind of makes me think of the discussion, too, around baseball with your managers wearing a uniform or not. Ollie Marmol, if you're listening, which I'm sure he tunes in every once in a while, I know that Hummel was very, very big. That was his one big issue with Ollie Marmol, but it was more just kind of pestering him that he wanted to see Ollie in a uniform. And that was so nice when, after Hummel passed away, that Ollie went out and wore a uniform to honor Rick Hummel after that.
And still does every single game.
That was
I
very
asked
kind
Ollie
of him.
when the City Connects came out, and I said, are you going to wear the City Connect? And he said, I wear my jersey every day now.
Yeah.
So good for him. Mm-hmm. So,
what do you think about that? Do you think managers should be wearing does it bother you?
There are some there are some managers that should not. Tony La Russa at the end with the White Sox should not have been wearing a uniform. Right? There are some guys who just should not.
Yeah.
On the other side,
Don Zimmer should not have been wearing, especially pinstripes. Ugh.
On the other side, Lou Piniella looked like a cartoon character. He looked like a character from the Minions movies. It was pencil legs and then just all Lou Piniella up top. And I think that is still the funniest image. Him just berating an ump while looking like he might tip over like a Weeble Wobble is my favorite thing in the world.
I think more sports should do it. I think football, full pads, helmet, everything like that, just for the threat of I could come out there in the game and take your job. Like Dan Campbell.
Popovich in a basketball uniform.
So funny. That'd be great.
I want to see
Rick
it.
Majerus?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
But I do think the NFL should have some minimum standards because
Bill Belichick.
he looked like a homeless guy.
Bill Belichick, first person that came to mind,
right.
Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
Literally, I mean, that. Do you think he washed that?
Probably
That
not. And then
sweatshirt?
Patricia,
That's-
remember Matt Patricia tried to copy him? And he was so
Oh, my
gross. He looked
God.
like he had bugs in his beard and stuff.
Yeah, looked
Come
like
on.
bird nesting in there.
Well, and here's a guy, Patricia, what an idiot. I'll say it.
Hey, he went by Mizzou the other day, by the way.
Did he, Matt Patricia? Oh, God, they're going to have a
I'm
bad
kidding.
year.
I'm joking. Yeah.
But he tells a guy that is wearing a Halloween costume, a writer. He said, respect the process. Here he is up there with his ugly beard and with this hoodie that's cut off, and he's telling somebody to respect the process?
I can't. Yeah.
Come on.
No.
Speaking of respecting the process, we got a text in here that said, yesterday Kerry Davis did the weak back joke and apparently got booed by the rest of the fast lane.
How dare they?
How they just don't understand humor. And you know what?
They don't understand elite humor,
No,
Randy.
they don't. And you know what? I get Jamie thinks he's funny. Anthony, I always thought Anthony had a sense of humor. And I know
Guess
Marshy
not.
doesn't. I saw Marshy at the game on Sunday. Marshy was fun and funny. But guys, come on. America, have a sense of humor.
It's elite humor.
Elite
It might have been too much for them, honestly, Randy. It probably went over their
They
heads a
probably
little bit.
never watched The Three Stooges and just don't understand what real top shelf elite level
Top
humor
shelf,
is.
yes.
Yeah.
That is the best way to describe it.
Yeah. Thanks very much for your texts. We do appreciate them. Coming up, barring a new reliever in the next 9 hours, what does the Cardinal staff look like with the addition of Fedde? And do we bring Chennai in just for a guest appearance on one of the broadcasts?
Oh, my goodness.
That's next on 101 ESPN.
Now that gets tomatoes.
Hey, I need you to know about what's going on with my friends at Hoffman Brothers, Heating and Cooling and Electrical and Plumbing. You know, homes in St. Louis commonly face water heater issues like sediment buildup and odd sounds and insufficient hot water and leaks. No matter what issue you may be experiencing, Hoffman Brothers can quickly diagnose and resolve the problem. They do a great job. They did it with our water heater at home, and they can do it with yours. Schedule today at hoffmanbros.com or give them a call at 314-664-3011. And if your air conditioner goes out, super hot week here in St. Louis, you need to get the maintenance on your air conditioner done. It's just like getting the oil changed on your car. And the Hoffman Brothers Home Protection Plan includes 2 seasonal maintenances for your heating and cooling systems and free filters as well. Sign up today and you can have peace of mind knowing that you are covered during these hot days and this hot week here in St. Louis. Schedule your maintenance today at hoffmanbros.com or call or text 314-664-3011. Hoffman Brothers, an elite American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer. Mosley, Randy Carricker, the opening drive, 101 ESPN 809. Time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Barring a new reliever in the next 9 hours, trade deadline at 5 this afternoon. What does the Cardinals staff look like with the addition of Eric, E-R-I-C-K, Eric Fedde?
That's very important to know, by the way.
Yeah.
That is how he spells his name.
Yeah. Eno Saris of The Athletic broke down the numbers to ask if Eric Fedde is a postseason starter, and the numbers would not lead you to believe, his strikeout numbers would not lead you to believe that he is a postseason starter. But, Brooke, let's take a look at the staff right now, because for me, he slots in as the number 2 in a 5-man rotation. Do you agree?
Yes.
And on certain days, we have given you ad nauseum Sonny Gray's September numbers. He could wind up being your number 1. He could start your first playoff game. But I think it's safe to say that right now, things can change over the course of the last couple of months of the season. But right now, you're looking at Gray, Fedde Gray, and then Gibson as your 3, Lynn as your 4, maybe Michaelis as your number 4, and then one of those two as your number 5. Your back of the rotation is Lynn and Michaelis, despite Miles' success of late, right?
Yes. I feel better about that starting rotation. Yeah. I think that adding Eric Fedde is very important. Now, with the article that you pointed out, I want to go to this because I think it's really important about where he talked about the postseason numbers. And we know that there's a difference between pitching in the regular season and postseason success. That's why we both really like the idea of Nathan Eovaldi, because that guy, you saw him last night, but he's a gamer during the postseason. He's somebody that you would love to have down that stretch. He points out the numbers, but I think there's a different version of Eric Fedde that we are seeing this season that needs to be noted. So I know he had like a career 5 ERA before he went over to Korea. And when he went over to Korea, he won their version of the Cy Young. He also added some new things to his repertoire.
Sweeper.
Oh, you knew where I was going with this, Randy. So he added a sweeper that batters are hitting.
AKA a slider.
Okay, but we're going to call it a sweeper because that sounds cooler right now. It's a new hip thing to do, Randy. The batters are hitting 167 against, added velocity and a cutter and a cut to a cutter, and he made his changeup harder. He added velo and arm side movement to his sinker. Those are some changes that have really helped him going the season. So I think that we're seeing a different version of him. I don't know if you can hold his past numbers against him. Do you think that's fair?
No, I think that's 100% fair. He's a different pitcher than what we saw, and his career ERA before this year was 5.41. His earned run average this year is 3.11. So he is a different pitcher, and he was not a great strikeout pitcher. 460 strikeouts in 576 innings before Korea, and 135 strikeouts in 169 innings this year. So his strikeouts per inning are higher. He's just a little bit better pitcher than he was when he was a member of the Nationals. And the big thing is, though, he's not a strikeout an inning guy, and that's what you need when you're going to face good hitters in the postseason on a regular basis. When you get to the playoffs, especially once you get to the second round of the playoffs, you're generally facing the best hitters that your league has to offer, and you need to be able to strike guys out, and he's not that guy. He's not a strikeout an inning guy. But he can, I thought, Saris pretty much hit the nail on the head. He's a guy that can get you to the playoffs. Kind of dicey, though, once you get to the playoffs as to whether or not he can be that guy, because he just doesn't miss many bats.
So if the playoffs start tomorrow and the Cardinals are in the playoffs in this theoretical story that I'm talking about here, who is your number 1 and who is your number 2? You're making Sonny Gray, Eric Fedde? Is that what you're going with? I think
I would do that, yeah.
And how comfortable do you feel about that?
I'm playing Atlanta, I think. Am I still playing Atlanta?
I believe so.
I don't feel great about it.
Do you feel better than what if Fedde wasn't added?
Oh, I feel much better than I felt 24 hours ago. Way better than I felt 24 hours ago. But, and hey, we've seen weird things happen in the postseason before. And that's what the Cardinals are relying on. The Cardinals are relying on the randomness of the postseason. But actually, I think the Cardinals would play the Brewers in the first round, right? If the playoffs started today, the Cardinals would have to slide in right now as the number 3 wild card team. I think they would play the Brewers, and then the Braves and Mets would play.
I'm just kind of getting back to what you were saying about the back end of the rotation, which is the Andre Palante slots into the rotation. Is there a chance that one of the older arms, maybe Michaelis, just kind of gets phased out, and we see Andre Pallante remain in that number 5 role.
Michaelis is, I think in his last 13 starts, he's delivered 10 quality starts.
Yeah. He's improved here recently.
He's been pretty darn good. And for that spot in the rotation, I would take that. I would think that the guy, and they would hate to do this. I think the Cardinals politically would hate to phase out a guy like Lance Lynn, but from a performance standpoint, that would be the most logical person to phase out if you wanted to start Pallante. But once you get to that portion of the postseason, you're going with 4. You're not going with a 5th starter, though.
I think another point about Andre Pallante is that he is getting up there in innings for what he's been able to do specifically in his career in the big leagues. He's at 62, I believe, currently right now. In 2023, 68 innings is the most that he had pitched, and 2022 was the most with over 100 pitches, innings pitched. Do you think that that's also another factor of why the bullpen decision would be best for him?
I agree with that 100%. Now,
and in 2022, he was a reliever.
Right. So let's take a look at the bullpen then. So we've got our 5 starters. So Pallante slots in as a relief pitcher. Helsley is still your closer. I guess King and Romero are still late inning matchup guys, although I think the Cardinals are probably losing a little faith in them. But so your right-handers are going to be Helsley, Fernandez, Pallante, Kittredge. Is Leahy still here? I don't know. Leahy or Roycroft, one of those guys. And then you keep the 3 lefties that you have. King, Liberatore, JoJo.
Considering that Pallante's got the reverse splits that you mentioned earlier in the show, that's, they need somebody else who can get out. They need somebody else who can take out righties.
Right-handers do hit him pretty hard.
That's the bottom. Just mentioning that list of right-hander relievers, it's just when you have to say what Leahy. That's just not.
Leahy
that's not a positive third name when you have the reverse splits from Pallante. So as much as I was actually you mentioned in passing, I was kind of thinking, well, maybe another lefty specialist because it feels like you always need one, but kind of feels like they need a righty specialist.
That's why you need to get a guy today, because you can't count on Riley O'Brien, right? I'm not even going to use the Irish brogue for Riley O'Brien until I see him in a major league game again.
Wow.
Can't count on him.
Yeah,
so get a guy that has done it before. And if it's Tanner Scott, I'm good. But yeah, I would like to get Pete Fairbanks. Get the local guy. Go get Pete Fairbanks. Tampa needs an outfielder now with trading a Rosarena. Go get Pete Fairbanks.
Would be amazing.
Yeah,
he also said that he grew up watching the Cardinals. Yep. He's a huge fan of the Cardinals.
Audio just hit yesterday of him saying that all they do is breed diehard Cardinals fans in St. Louis, and they talk about how his favorite players were Matheny and then Yachty.
Yeah, so there you go. And Dylan Carlson would be a really good fit in Tampa because obviously they traded to Rosarena. I know they've got some good young outfielders, but I think he would be a really good fit there. So there you have our fresh take here on 101 ESPN. Next up, we've been talking about 3 areas of need for the Cardinals, and they went 2/3 of the way with yesterday's move, but that still leaves a need for another bullpen arm. So let's play reliever roulette next on 101 ESPN.
This summer, it isn't safe to go back to the dealership.
Down payments, they're too high.
You're going to need a bigger wallet.
Not at Missouri's #1 Mitsubishi dealer, Frank Lita Mitsubishi. Every vehicle is just $29 down, $29.
What about financing?
All you need is a job and $29 at Frank Lita Mitsubishi in the automotive outlet.
You get a lifetime warranty, lifetime, no charge.
And 0% financing, 0%.
Plus pre-owned, as far as the eye can see.
All just $29 down, $29.
It's a summer sales event.
You could save thousands at Missouri's #1 Mitsubishi dealer, Frank Lita Mitsubishi.
In the automotive outlet in Bridgeton.
YesLita.com.
YesLita.com.
New 24 Outlander, 39.1, 29 down, $547 a month for 72 months at 6% APR. Plus tax tag title to qualified buyers. #1 based on National Mitsubishi report as of 4/1/24.
Are we waiting on your little pill to hit home base?
No, I got a chewable. It works faster.
Oh, so we can get naughtier sooner?
And longer.
Victory Men's Health has launched VictoryRx.com. Get prescribed our #1 ED medication. It has the combined power of Cialis and Viagra in a chewable tablet and better absorption. It's easy. Get a consultation on VictoryRx.com and your ED chewable. VictoryRx.com, where men's sexual health matters.
Hey, if you are in the market for a great outdoor project for your home, then you need to get in touch with my friends at Chesterfield Fence and Deck. Why Chesterfield Fence and Deck, you ask? Well, because they've been in business for 56 years. And when you stay in business for 56 years, you have done something right. And there's no doubt about Chesterfield Fence and Deck doing it right. They did my fence and told me I would have a lifetime product, and it has been. I got a white vinyl fence, a privacy fence from Chesterfield Fence and Deck a long time ago, and it has been fantastic. And they were so friendly in telling me what was available and how they would install it and where it would go. And they'll do the same thing for you, whether it is a fence, a deck, a sunroom, screen room, pergola. At Chesterfield Fence and Deck, they're A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. They're going to do great work on your home. Everything guaranteed by 5-year labor warranties. And they also have numerous material warranties as well. And they're going to do the right thing by you. They care about their customers, and that's why they've lasted here in St. Louis. Give them a call at 800-300-4054 or find them on the web at chesterfieldfence.com. Tell them Randy sent you, and oh, by the way, if you order by the end of this month, 48 months interest-free financing on your next outdoor project with Chesterfield Fence and Deck. The sign you have the very best.
ESPN has your chance to win free tickets to Bush with special guests Jerry Cantrell and Candlebox. Next Saturday night, August 10th at St. Louis Music Park. Find all the ticket details and find that chance to win free tickets for Bush right now, either at 101ESPN.com or on your 101 mobile app.
This is the opening drive on 101 ESPN. Brought to you by Sumner One.
Have picked up their right-handed hitter in Tommy Pham. They picked up their starting pitcher in Eric Fedde. Brooke, now we need to look at the Cardinals getting a reliever. And let's start with this. A guy who would have to work his way into a little shape to get into major league pitching out of the bullpen condition. But Trevor Bauer, let's start with him as a possibility.
Why would you do that, Randy? he's literally made himself choke. He's laughing so hard over there. We do get a lot of texts about Trevor Bauer. I just do want to throw this out there that John Mozeliak has been asked several times, as well as other GMs across Major League Baseball. They have been asked about Trevor Bauer. There is no interest.
Wait, there's not a bidding war for I thought he hadn't signed because there was a bidding war for him among a bunch of teams.
He's always available, though. He makes that pretty clear on social media.
Well,
so,
okay. So
yeah.
he's not there. So let's play reliever roulette, okay?
Okay. That sounds like a cat.
Oh, sorry. We got a wheel.
This is going. Speaking of wheels,
the Fastlane's wheel doesn't make any noise though.
This is going off the rails a little bit, isn't it?
Okay, so let's start.
It's very quiet.
Their wheel doesn't make noise. Okay, so winner or loser, John Brebbia.
I like John Brebbia, honestly.
I think he'd be a nice fit. I think, though, if the Cardinals were... He does, but if the Cardinals were going to get him, wouldn't they have gotten him yesterday?
You would think so, but, Rocc brought this up during the break. Maybe with the three-team trade yesterday that there wasn't a way to work that out specifically, but I think it would make a lot of sense. Also, if you were able to move Dylan Carlson, he would get a lot more reps with the White Sox and be able to play, I would assume, a lot more than he is currently right now. So I feel like that's a deal that would make a lot of sense, and we're kind of doing a little mini reunion right now with the Cardinals.
Yeah,
so
right.
bringing Brebs back.
Old home week.
Brebbia is hilarious, by the way. Probably one of the funniest baseball players I've ever encountered.
He'd be worth it for us.
Yeah, he would. He would, just from a personality standpoint. But I think he makes sense if they were able to pull that off.
Okay, a guy who's quickly becoming an immaculate grid star, Scott Alexander, left-hander, who is he is pitched now for the Royals, Doyers, Giants, and A's. So he's headed for his fifth team. It looks like.
Okay.
No, I don't need Scott Alexander. How about Austin Adams? Are you an Austin Adams fan?
Are you an Austin Adams?
Not
Adams
really.
fan?
I want a guy that's got a little bit more major league pedigree. I don't hate him. And he's been around the block. He hasn't pitched in big Well, let me put it this way: he hasn't been a leverage guy in his career. He has 0 saves. He's pitched 182 games. He's finished only 31. He's just and another guy with Oakland, and he was with Arizona last year, but he didn't do anything with Arizona. So I'm not going to include Austin Adams.
Can I be honest?
Yes.
With this list?
Yes.
None of these names really stand out to me. I know that we're going through all of them, but none of them really stand out to me that much.
There aren't. You don't have that classic closer.
Which is what I feel like that they need if they are able to pull off something.
Now, one of the guys, Carlos Estevez, I know that there was significant interest in Estevez.
Yes.
Has he not been moved yet?
I do not believe
so he has not been moved. Carlos Estevez I find intriguing.
I think Phillies moved for him, actually.
Oh, did they?
Okay.
I think I overlooked that one. That's my apologies.
Okay, so yeah, he did get moved over the weekend. Dylan Floro, we saw him over the weekend with the Nationals. He was good with the Doyers a few years ago. Dylan Floro would be a serviceable, but not a difference-making arm.
Yeah, I think serviceable would be the best way.
Derek Law, I know Derek Law enough. I don't have any interest in Derek Law.
And then Kirby Yates.
What do we
Kirby
think?
Yates, I like, but I don't think the Rangers will move him.
What do we think the Cardinals are like to give up? Right? I mean, if you're looking at what they're giving up for this move, other than a package of some smaller prospects and Dylan Carlson, what else is the package that they're moving for this reliever, and therefore what is a realistic name?
Well, it changes the dynamic. Now, we brought up in the last segment Pete Fairbanks. And Pete Fairbanks has been a good major league pitcher. He's pitched in big moments with the Rays, who have been a team over the years that has been in the playoff hunt. I would go with Carlson and one of their mid-level pitching prospects that we know all the names of at the minor league level, a McGreevy, a Graceffo. I would do that to get that sort of reliever in here.
Yeah, that's the level. I just think that package isn't going to get you the Tanner Scott.
Fairbanks, no. Fairbanks has 20 saves for you this year. 3.11 earned run average. Fairbanks is kind of the essence of what they're looking for. He is 30 years old. So I would say that...
I like Fairbanks a lot.
I'm a fan, too.
I would be interested to see what you would have to give up in return, to your point. But at the same time, if we're talking about, you went through all those names, none of those names really jumped out to me where I'd say, yeah, I'd feel a lot better about adding this person to my bullpen.
Right. I'm with you there.
But with Fairbanks, that changes my mind.
He's a difference maker,
yes.
Right? And so that's what I'm looking. We've talked all the time about getting a guy with closing experience, and that's why Scott and Fairbanks, and before them Estevez, they were kind of at the top of the list because they've closed games and they've been able to get the 27th out. So those are some of the names, but we're kind of losers. Kirby Yates, by the way, I just don't think the Rangers are going to bail. I think the Rangers are going to try to stay in this thing. I mean, when you've got Eovaldi, Scherzer, you get DeGrom back, you've got the world champions, you're starting to hit a little bit. There's a lot of things to like about that division, especially if you're the Rangers. Now, I think they play Houston this weekend, if I'm not mistaken. But the Rangers have a chance to win that division again. They're only 3.5 back. Granted, they're under 500, but they're still only 3.5 back in the division. Seattle and Houston tied for the lead in the AL West. But if they trade Kirby Yates, that's signifying that they're bailing, and I don't think they're going to bail.
Seems like the consensus here is that the reliever the Cardinals do get today, if they do get a reliever, is going to be solid, but probably unspectacular, which seems like a very, very predictable kind of level for what we'd expect from the Cardinals. No one was that excited about Zepchinski or Dotel.
Right,
No.
exactly.
But how much do you think, and this is a question from the 636, I still feel like Matt's would be better than all of them if healthy. Now, that's the big question mark, is if healthy. And I mentioned earlier that he's doing a rehab assignment this Thursday, so we'll have to wait to see. Is that something that's in the back of the Cardinals' mind here, of Steven Matz as a possibility? Do you think that we will see him with the team at some point this season?
I think there's a chance. Apparently, he's feeling good. He's headed out on
You
a
saw
rehab
him?
stint.
Yeah.
And said he was feeling good. So I would think that there's a chance that we could see him during the course of the rest of this season. And I don't think the Cardinals have been enamored lately of their left-handed relief. And I kind of understand that. When the last couple of times that we've seen Yo-Yo Romero, it has not been great, right? Let's see. In the month of July, 7 games, he has an earned run average. Let me get to game level here. Earned run average of only 1.69. But the big thing for him this year, or this month, he's only got 3 strikeouts. 3 strikeouts in, let's see. I'm trying to get my innings right here. So 3 strikeouts in 10 innings. So he's not getting the Ks that he used to get.
I will say, just throwing it out there, the splits for Matz. I mean, 911 OPS this year against righties, 718 against lefties. So I mean, it's there for you. But that just the big thing right now for the reliever is consistent innings that you know you're going to get, because things are looking like they're on the bridge of cracking right now, and that's just not a statement that kind of goes with Steven Matz over the last year.
Right. By the way, this year, month to month, the strikeout per 9 innings for Romero has gone from 9.8 to 6.9 to 6.8 to 5.1. His strikeout per 9 just continues to drop. And King, serviceable, but I would like to have again, Matt can strike a guy out. So that wouldn't bother me if he becomes a 1-inning guy. And he's done it in the past. Brooke, thanks for winning the fight yesterday. I didn't get to hear it, but I heard you won, right?
I did, yes.
Pretty awesome.
Just, yeah.
I think it was like 3-1, trounced him.
Well, I will say, and some people, didn't point this out, but I felt like he did make it a little bit easier on me with some of the questions.
Okay, good.
They were not easy questions. They were very tricky.
Well, anytime that you ask me about Serena Williams, I love Serena Williams.
It was an Olympic medal question. That's a tricky one no matter what. Any way you throw it.
A win is a win is a win.
Thank you.
A win is a win.
Yep.
Yes.
But that means we need a new fighter. And you can text in 314-399-9646, 314-399. Yo-ho! Maybe you will fight me next time, 101 ESPN. Hey, if your home needs repairs and maybe an update or a remodel, do you really not want to pile on debt? Well, I've got an idea for you. Check out Together Credit Union's interest-only home equity line of credit. With Together Credit Union's interest-only home equity line of credit, you can borrow up to 90% of the current equity in your current home and pay interest-only monthly payments for the first 10 years. Plus, there are no annual fees or prepayment penalties. Together Credit Union's interest-only home equity line of credit offers flexible borrowing, which means you can borrow as much or as little as you need to make your house a home. And you can pay your balance at any time during the draw period and then borrow it again, which puts you in control of your finances. To learn more about Together Credit Union's interest-only home equity line of credit, stop by a branch or visit togethercu.org. And don't forget the Together Credit Union City SC debit card. When you open a new checking account at Together Credit Union, pick out the City card and you can get express entry into the stadium and 10% discounts on everything at City Park. Together Credit Union, federally insured by the NCUA.
This is Rocc with your Sports Center update, brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The Cardinals yesterday fall to the Rangers 6-3 in their opening game of the series. Andre Palante gets the start and goes 5 innings, allows 7 hits, 3 earned runs, walks 2, and struck out 5. Again, Cardinals fall 6-3 in Game 1. Game 2 tonight, it'll be Max Scherzer returning to Busch Stadium, 2-3 with a 3.57 ERA this season, and he faces off against Lance Lynn. The trade deadline is today in Major League Baseball at 5 p.m. Central. You can catch all your coverage right here on 101 ESPN throughout the day, including when we talk at 8:45 to Cardinals beat writer John Denton and at 10:15 with Chicago's White Sox and Cubs beat writer Jesse Rogers. That is your Sports Center update, brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an independent American heating and air conditioning dealer.
Welcome back to the opening drive. Brooke and Randy and Rocchio here. Danny Mac with the day off. And it is time for the fight. Our fighter today is Lauren. Lauren, how are you doing today?
I'm good. What about you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for joining us for the fight. Is this your first time fighting Randy?
Yes, this is.
Ooh, are you nervous, excited, scared?
I'm excited.
Yeah, okay, awesome. Are you ready for question number 1?
Yes.
Okay, who has the most outfield Gold Gloves in Cardinals history with 7? Is it Jim Edmonds, Kurt Flood, or Willie McGee?
I'm going to go with Edmonds.
All right, former Cardinals outfielder Lane Thomas is on the move again, this time getting moved to the Guardians. When he was originally traded to Washington in 2021, which pitcher did the Cardinals receive in that trade? Was that John Lackey, Jay Happ, or John Lester?
I'm going to go with Lester.
In the last two World Series, a National League wildcard team has fallen in the World Series. Which is the last National League club to win the World Series as a wildcard team? Is it the Cubs, the Nationals, or the Braves?
Nationals.
And there are 4 players in NFL history to tally 10-plus seasons with double-digit sacks. Who is the only player to do it in the 21st century? Is that Terrell Suggs, Julius Peppers, or DeMarcus Ware?
I'm going to go Ware.
All right, we'll double-check the score and bring in Randy Carricker.
How are you feeling, Lauren?
I'm feeling okay. Baseball is my main sport that I'm really into, so it works out very well. But
nice. And we had a couple of baseball questions, too. So here comes Randy in right now with grapes. Red grapes this time this week.
Good and good for you.
Very good for you. Randy, say hi to Lauren.
Lauren, good morning and thanks for listening. Hold on, let me put my headphones on so that I can hear you. There we go.
I was having trouble with the headphones.
Yeah. Oh, I hope I didn't break my headphones. No, I didn't. Okay. Thanks for listening. Thanks for playing. How you doing?
I'm good.
Good.
This is her first time in the fight.
Awesome. Well, it's great to have you with us, and we really do appreciate you tuning in.
Ready for question number 1?
Ready.
Okay. Who has the most outfield Gold Gloves in Cardinals history with 7?
I think I'm going to go with Curt Flood here. Let's see. Jimmy Baseball was here 2001, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So he was here 8 years. Might be Jimmy. But I think I'm going to go with Curt Flood. Oh, should I do that? Yeah, I'll do Curt Flood.
Randy, former Cardinals outfielder Lane Thomas is on the move again, this time getting moved to the Guardians. When he was originally traded to Washington in 2021, which pitcher did the Cardinals receive in the trade?
It was the John Lester deal. Lane Thomas to the Nationals for John Lester, who finished his career with the Cardinals and 200 wins.
I knew that there was a final sentence there.
Big proponent of beer and fried chicken and video games.
There we go. All right. You ready for question 3, Randy?
Ready.
In the last two World Series, a National League wildcard team has fallen in the World Series. Which is the last National League club to win the World Series as a wildcard team?
I think I'm going to go with the Nationals in 2019. I don't think they won their division because the Braves have won it like 5 years in a row. So I think I'm going to go with the 2019 Nationals. The Doyers. Oh, Doyers in 20. No, in 21, the Doyers were a wild card, but they didn't win. Braves in 21 won their division. So I'm going to go with the Nationals of 2019 to win and they won the World Series. Yeah, that's it.
Randy, there are 4 players in NFL history to tally 10-plus seasons with double-digit sacks. Who's the only one to do it in the 21st century?
That would mean since 2000?
Yes.
10 seasons of
10-plus sacks.
10 seasons of 10-plus sacks. I have an idea here, but I'm going to do the lifeline. But my initial, that's a bad one. Hold on, let me think about who I'm going to go with here.
Can I know who your initial guess was going to be?
Yeah, it was going to be J.J. Watt, but he was hurt too much.
He was hurt too much, exactly. 100%.
So,
God, I love this sometimes.
TJ hasn't been there long enough. Sean Merriman got steroid beat. Hold on here. Oh, okay. I got an idea now. But I'm going to use the lifeline.
All right. Terrell Suggs, Julius Peppers, or DeMarcus Ware?
Okay, so my guy with Khalil Mack was not on the list. Suggs, Peppers, or Ware? I believe I am going to go with... I hate to leave Terrell Suggs because he's hated the Patriots so much, but I'm not going to go with him. So we're down to Ware and Peppers. And Peppers bounced around and got a lot of sacks for a lot of teams. Panthers, Packers, Bears. Ware he had a great career. And he's a Hall of Famer. But I think I'll go with Ware. I'll go with DeMarcus Ware.
All right, we have a winner in today's fight. It was a close one today. Does Randy Carricker return from his break with a win, or does the first-timer Lauren take him down? Ring that bell.
The winner and still champion of the fight, Randy Carricker.
The fight is presented by Golf Discount of St. Louis, with the most experienced club fitters in town. Why shop anywhere else?
Just win, baby. I'm sorry, Lauren. Randy Carricker was able to just beat you out 3-2 today.
That's okay.
Good
You did
job.
great, Lauren.
Yeah, good job in the fight today,
Thank you.
Lauren.
Yep, we appreciate you joining us.
Thank you.
Let's go through the questions and answers really quickly. The most outfield Gold Gloves in Cardinals history is, in fact, Curt Flood, who ripped off 7 straight from 1963 to 1969. Again, Jim Edmonds did finish with 6 in his Cardinals career. Former Cardinals outfielder Lane Thomas moved to the Cleveland Guardians. It was, in fact, John Lester that trade 1-for-1. Last 2 years, an NL wildcard team has fallen in the World Series. And, of course, it was the Nationals, the last wildcard team to win the World Series in the NL. And there are 4 players in NFL history to tally 10-plus seasons with double-digit sacks. Those players, by the way, Bruce Smith, Reggie White, Kevin Green, and the only player to do it in the 21st century, Julius Peppers, who got 10 seasons, and that's how you get into the Hall of Fame, ladies and gentlemen. You build that gold jacket by setting them kind of records. Yep. By the way, DeMarcus Ware had 8, and Terrell Suggs had 7. John Randall had 9. The only guy in NFL history was sitting there with 9 just beyond the 10. So a 3-2 win for Randy Carricker in the fight. Thank you again, Lauren, for joining the fight and joining the show today.
Yeah, thank you. Have a great day.
You too. Have a great day. Lauren with us on 101 ESPN. Coming up, we're going to talk about the Cardinal trade and what might be happening today with our buddy John Denton of MLB.com. John is next on 101 ESPN. Randy Carricker, and I'm here with Jim Olive, the Auto Loan Pro at autoloanpro.com. And Jim, we're hearing a lot about interest rates, but people can still get a great payment on a vehicle these days, can't they?
Absolutely, Randy. We realize that rates are at an all-time high, and we're here to help alleviate that burden and get people back into the new car, truck, or SUV that they're looking for today.
And you're working with a lot of lenders to make sure that people get the best rates.
You know, Randy, right now we have over 50 lenders on site to secure the best possible terms for your vehicle purchase today and get you on the road within an hour.
And at the end of the day, if people can make a payment, you can get them a loan.
Absolutely. We have the playbook that we've written to kind of walk through and show everybody that it's not just about today. We're looking at tomorrow for you. We're looking at your future. We're looking at setting you up for success long term, and that is at theautoloanpro.com.
That's Jim Olive, autoloanpro.com. There's one thing to know. Choose the Auto Loan Pro, autoloanpro.com.
.101 ESPN has your chance to score free tickets to Green Day on August 15th at Hollywood Casino Amphitheater.
Don't wanna be an American idiot.
Green Day will be back in town in just a few days with special guest Rancid for a huge show at the amphitheater. Get all the ticket details and get entered to win those free tickets for the show right now, either at 101ESPN.com or on your 101 mobile app. Green Day will be back in town in just a few days with special guest Rancid for a huge show at the amphitheater.
Brooke and Randy, and we go to the celebrity line. Our buddy John Denton of MLB.com covers the Cardinals, and you can read his work at Cardinals.com. Joins us. Good morning, John. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Randy. Thanks for having me.
Well, we're excited to have you with us, and we want to start with this. What was your reaction yesterday when you heard about, once you got all the details of the trade, once they all came in, what was your reaction?
How did Mo pull that off?
Yeah, right.
First off, like he gets Eric Fedde, one of the most underpaid guys in the league as far as how he's performing. A very coveted guy, a guy who reinvented himself, a guy who developed a sweeper and has become really good this season. And then you talk him into throwing in Tommy Pham too. That was a heck of a coup by Mo. His team worked hard on it. I give him a lot of credit. He scratched 2 itches there with one swipe. That was impressive because they touched on probably the 2 biggest areas that the Cardinals needed help. They needed another starting arm. They needed a right-handed bat. Took a bat left-handed pitching. That was a heck of a coup that him and his team pulled off.
And what do you think of the Cardinals sending Tommy Pham to L.A. or Tommy Edman? I've been doing the Tommies all day. So, Tommy Edman to L.A. Were the Cardinals going to get much out of Tommy Edman?
It's tough because Tommy hasn't even played in the field yet. He's played in 8 minor league games in his rehab assignment. All 8 were as a DH. He was actually scheduled to play the field today for the first time. He was going to play second base. Tommy had kind of let the Cardinals know he wanted to get back on the infield. He played really well in the outfield last year, but I think the more he thought about it, the more he wanted to be an infielder. They just don't really have a spot now. Now that Mason Wynn has locked down shortstop and is going to be the shortstop here probably for the next 10 years, that kind of closed off that option. You have Nolan Gorman, you have Brendan Donovan at second base. There just weren't a lot of reps there, and you had to kind of deal from your strengths. And, as much as they hate to see Tommy go, everybody in St. Louis loves Tommy. Tommy's baseball IQ is off the charts. He's a great person. He's a great player. But sometimes you just have to deal from where you have overlap. And, that was they had to get an arm and they had to get a bat, so that they dealt from a position of strength.
John, I'm with you 100%. I was shocked that John Mozeliak was able to pull off this trade, especially since in your story that you had when Giovanni Gallegos was DFA'd, that little nugget that you put in there where the Cardinals front office has been informed by management that the club is not positioned to take on significant additional salary in coming years via a trade per a source. And I found that really interesting going to the trade deadline because then my initial thought was, well, how in the world are they going to get anything of value, not just for this year, but next year? So Mo was able to be very creative, it seems like, even though he had some financial constraints.
Yeah, Brooke, they're not the Dodgers. They're not the Yankees. They're not the Red Sox. They don't just have an unlimited payroll. And, that really puts a kink in it. His team had to be creative, They have to try to check a lot of boxes with, that $8 million that Tommy Edman was owed. They had to go find somebody who kind of matched that. And lo and behold, Eric Fedde's making $7.5 this year, and Tommy Pham has what's left of $900,000. So it actually worked out pretty well. When you consider what their instructions were, you really couldn't ever be in on Nathan Eovaldi. You couldn't ever really be in on Zach Eflin because they're owed so much money going forward. So give Mo credit for finding a guy who's probably big time undervalued. Considering how he's pitched like a $20 million pitcher this year, but they're getting him, they're getting him this year, and then they've got him locked up again for next year too.
Hey, John, it seems like the music has stopped in the outfield, and Dylan Carlson is standing there without a chair.
Yeah, it's tough. I talked to Dylan Sunday morning, and he knows what's going on. And I asked him about, the whole change of scenery thing. And he said, it's hard for him to comment on that because he's only known one organization since he was 17 years old. You know, this is the only organization he's ever played for. This is all he knows. He said, but then you go see what happened to Tyler O'Neill. You know, you see him go off and have success. He said, maybe there's something to, you know, a new style of play, new thinking. Maybe it helps you unlock something. And so Dylan knows. At the end of the day, Dylan said, hey, I need to play. You know, I need to be on the field. If you go back and look, there was one stretch where Dylan played 3 games in a row, and I think he had 4 hits that day. You know, a lot of people are tough on Dylan, and he messed up the other night and totally botched that ball and cost him a game. But he hasn't played. He hadn't been on the field to get reps. And, you know, Dylan even said the other night, he's like, this game is hard enough when you have confidence. And when your confidence is kind of rattled and kind of broken, it makes the game even more difficult. So, you know, he's in a tough spot. He needs to get on the field. A change of scenery would probably help him. And when he goes off and hits 15 home runs next year, everybody's going to say, oh, you shouldn't have gotten rid of him. But right now, everybody wants to get rid of him. So Dylan's in a tough spot. And I think by the end of the day, Dylan will be somewhere else.
The Cardinals, as you mentioned, checking off 2 big boxes with bringing in a starting pitcher and adding Tommy Pham. So you address the starting pitcher, you address adding a right-handed bat. But I think a lot of people are still waiting to see if they can add another arm to this bullpen. What are you hearing about the Cardinals possibly getting another reliever?
What if I told you they might trade Dylan for a Dylan? How about that?
Well, you did a Tommy for a Tommy, so it makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, there's a source that told me that they're talking to the Nationals. The Nationals have had interest in Tommy and Dylan Carlson for years. We know going back to 22 when there was some talking, you know, with the Soto thing, the Nationals had some interest in Nolan Gorman. They had some interest in Dylan Carlson. I've been told to keep an eye out for Dylan Floro, right-handed reliever. Pitched the other day. He's actually the guy who gave up the home run to Goldie for the walk-off. It was the first home run he'd given up all year. He's a guy who won a World Series with the Dodgers in 2020. He's been on 6 different teams, you know, having a really good year. That's a name that could surface later today. Dylan Floro for Dylan Carlson, the salaries match up. Also Luis Garcia, a guy that Cardinal fans would know, you know, pitched here for a season. Mike Schilt used to call him Louis instead of Luis, that sort of thing. You know, I know a lot of Cardinal fans would love to see Pete Fairbanks out of Tampa, but that's probably not going to happen. That's probably a pipe dream. But for now, Dylan Floro is a name that I'm watching closely, that I've heard that there may be some interest in.
John Denton of MLB.com with us on 101 ESPN. And John, since Andre Pallante joined the rotation, he has far and away the best earned run average of all the starters. But it seems logical that with the addition of Eric Fedde, that Pallante would be the guy back in the bullpen. Have the Cardinals talked about that? What do you foresee happening there?
Yeah, you know, Fedde's going to join the team Thursday in Chicago when they get to Chicago to play the Cubs. He'll be activated that day. They haven't decided what day he's going to pitch yet. But, I mean, Andre Pallante had a lot of resignation in his voice last night. You know, he's a guy who went to Memphis, changed his game, added a pitch that would help him get left-handers out, really saved this team's bacon. You know, I mean, they were in trouble. They were in a free fall. They needed a 5th starter. Andre Pallante saved this team in a lot of ways. And, you know, yesterday he didn't pitch poorly last night. He just got beat by some horrible luck. So he was kind of mad about that. But, I mean, I think you could also realize that he's kind of like, hey, what have I done to lose my spot? But he knows he's probably going back to the bullpen. But I think he's pitched well enough to be in consideration for one of those starting spots next year. He really saved this team with the work he's done in the last 2 months.
I want to go back to Tommy Pham and the addition that he will be to this team. Obviously, the Cardinals are very familiar with Tommy Pham and what he's able to do. And he also has great OPS against lefties this season, 848, in his career, 834. But I want to talk about the clubhouse aspect, because you were around the guys yesterday. We have some people who are texting in saying Tommy Pham is a cancer. There's a reason that he's bounced around many different organizations. But what did you hear from the players and from Ollie Marmol yesterday about Tommy Pham and what he can add to this clubhouse?
Tommy Pham is a guy who's good as a straight shooter and is going to tell it like he is. He doesn't do a lot of sugarcoating of stuff. You know, that rubs a lot of people the wrong way. But, you know, we all know Matt Carpenter. Matt Carpenter's a guy who probably worked, you know, insanely hard back in his day, sometimes even worked to his detriment. You know, he takes so many swings a day. he said that Tommy Pham was on a short list of the hardest players he's ever played with in his life. Tommy Pham is right there. And, he mentioned that he plays like his hair is on fire. Ali Marmol said that they didn't just get a right-hand hitter. They got a right-hand hitter who lives and dies with every swing in the box. A lot of people love Tommy Pham because he plays, if he's on your team, you love him. And if you're on the other team, you're going to hate him. So if you look back, like every team that's done anything in sports needs a little bit of edge. They need a little bit of that crazy guy. They need a little bit of unpredictability to keep everybody on the heels. And we all know Tommy Pham is that guy. And I think he's going to bring some much-needed swagger to a clubhouse that's kind of mild sometimes and kind of sleepy sometimes that needs a little bit of shake-up. Tommy Pham will shake up that group.
John, there's a difference, and you've seen it through covering sports all of your adult life. Big difference between loving winning and hating losing. Tommy Pham is a guy that hates losing.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. Yeah, it burns inside of him. You want guys that care. Like Wilson Contreras is the same way. When the Cardinals lose, Wilson Contreras cares at home with him. You want guys that it burns inside of you and it matters. And you hate the feeling that you get when you lose games. And, Tommy Pham will be like that. And, after they lose, Tommy Pham will call people out. He will say what happened. He will not sugarcoat things. And like I said, that clubhouse is a little bit quiet, a little bit sleepy. I think Tommy Pham is going to be a good addition in that clubhouse just to shake things up and give them a little bit of edginess.
Hey, John, I want to give you one other note here, little opening for you. The other night we had our home run derby, and Brooke participated, and I understand that Brooke's got a wing damage here, so this might be a good time to play a little pickleball.
Oh, yeah, I need to pick on her then, because she's usually got a vicious forehand, so maybe I can pick on her a little bit.
Yeah, John, how would you describe my forehand? I'll let you brag for me.
It has like 110 exit velocity. How about that?
There we go.
Put it in baseball parlance.
Yes.
Devastating. John, we always love hearing your voice. Thanks so much for the time, and we'll see you soon.
All right, guys. Take care. Thanks.
Take care. John Denton, MLB.com. And you can read his great work at Cardinals.com. Follow him on Twitter at John Denton. Is it 555?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, John Denton, 555. Yep. So you can follow him there. Next up here on 101 ESPN, we've got the Rush Hour Reset. Stick around. Mentality is the place to go if you are feeling a little bit fatigued this morning. Maybe you woke up and you're already tired and you just don't have the energy that you used to have when you were in your 20s and 30s. At Mentality, they understand that when you lose that energy, that when you are fatigued, that can be a product of low T, which happens to every single guy. Guys, it's something that happens to us. Our testosterone level drops as we get older, but there's a solution at Mentality, and they can provide it for you today. Go to lowtusa.com and set up an appointment at one of their great clinics in either Chesterfield or South County. And at Mentality, they're going to find out where your testosterone level is, and then they have an FDA-approved supplemental testosterone treatment that they'll apply every single week, and you can get that energy level back by simply visiting Mentality. It's a difference maker, and they're going to work with you to make sure that your out-of-pocket expenses are as low as possible. I use it. I'll be there tomorrow, and guys, you can do what thousands of guys in St. Louis have done as well, and go to Mentality and get back to being the guy with the energy that you used to be. Mentality at lowtusa.com.
Having the biggest sports stories of the day on the opening drive with a Rush Hour Reset.
9:06 in St. Louis. Time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Cardinals will take on the Rangers in the second of 3 tonight at the ballpark. And Max Scherzer is probably going to make his final Busch Stadium start tonight. He'll be opposed by Lance Lynn, and you'll be able to see that one on Bally Sports. Tickets still available, by the way, if you'd like to honor the St. Louis and Max Scherzer on a Hall of Fame career and get a chance to see him probably at home for the last time. The Cardinals will have Tommy Pham in the lineup. They're going to be joined, well, they'll have him available, not necessarily in the lineup, but they will be joined by Eric Fedde later in the week after acquiring Fedde and Pham yesterday. Tommy Edman and minor league right-handed pitcher were sent to the Dodgers, that right-handed pitcher being Oliver Gonzalez, and the Cardinals worked that three-way deal with the White Sox to pick up Fedde and the right-handed hitting Tommy Pham, and the Cardinals get some cash back in the deal as well. And the trade deadline is today at 5, and hopefully the Cardinals will be able to add to this group with the much-needed relief pitcher as well.
Well, you have to definitely make a move, especially with the 26-man spot needed. You have to fix something with that. And so yesterday, John Mozeliak told reporters that he will remain open-minded about another move before the deadline, and you have Dylan Carlson still a part of this team. So if they could move him for a reliever, that would be huge, and it would really just seal what I would say is a great trade deadline for the Cardinals and for John Mozeliak.
Yeah, definitely an upgrade. They will be better because of these moves. Does it make them a World Series contender at face value? Probably not. But is Fedde better than... Is he good enough to be in the rotation? Yes. He's one of their two best starting pitchers. Is Tommy Pham the best right-handed hitting outfielder they have? Yes, he is. He's got a 800-plus OPS against left-handed pitching. So there are definitely upgrades in this deal. And Tommy Pham hadn't even played for the Cardinals this year and probably didn't want to. And he'll go to a place in L.A. where his style of play is appreciated and utilized all the time. They've done it with Muncy. They've done it with Turner. They've done it with Kike Hernandez. They've done it with Chris Taylor. Over and over and over again, the Dodgers seem to find value in those quote-unquote utility players.
And I hate to see Tommy Edman go, of course.
Great guy. We love him.
Because he's such a great guy, and he's very helpful to this team. As John didn't mention, he's very well known for his high baseball IQ. You could really put him anywhere, and he finds a way to be successful. He was a great addition to this team, but I think that he might have been a little bit redundant on this roster. You do have some versatile players. You've had the emergence of Michael Ciani as elite center fielder, and I think that really changed the Cardinals' approach. Do you think that with Michael Ciani, the way that Alec Burleson has been playing, and Mason Wynn, some of the younger guys, do you think that changed their perspective on how flexible they could be with moving Tommy Edman?
I don't think there's any doubt about that. They signed Tommy Edman to the 2-year contract with the idea that he was going to be their center fielder over the course of the next couple of years. But then when Victor Scott doesn't work out, Ciani turns into something. And Michael Ciani, he's hit almost 300 over the last month and a half and played a center field that is better, honestly, than what Tommy Pham or Tommy Edman played for the Cardinals.
Right?
Yeah,
and now
right.
we might add another Dylan. Who knows?
So you're right. Because of the presence of Brendan Donovan, who's kind of taken over at second base now, and Wynn and Ciani, and Edman is an up-the-middle infielder. The Cardinals just didn't, or outfielder. Cardinals didn't have a spot for him, so it winds up being a movable part, and the Cardinals do move him. The Braves late last night, acquired Jorge Soler from the Giants. He had signed a free agent contract with San Francisco over the course of the offseason. Soler was a part of the 2021 Braves World Championship team. As a matter of fact, he was the World Series MVP. After losing Ronald Acuna in 2021, the Braves picked up Adam Duvall, Eddie Rosario, Jorge Soler, and Jock Peterson. This year, after losing Ronald Acuna to a season-ending injury, they have picked up Adam Duvall, Eddie Rosario, Jorge Soler. Now, if there's a lock before 5 o'clock today, it's that Jock Peterson gets traded from Arizona to the Atlanta Braves, right?
It feels like it at this point. You're just doing a full reunion tour right now for them. I mean, if it worked for them before, maybe that's their way of thinking about things. If you don't mind, can we go back to Dylan Carlson just for 1 second? Because we're getting texts of people asking about this from the 314, if Carlson isn't moved, will he be optioned to Memphis? And this is in regards to me talking about with the 26-man right now, there needs to be a spot open with Eric Fedde and Tommy Pham. I know that they DFA'd Giovanni Gallegos the other day, but is that an option for Dylan Carlson? Or based off the comments that we just heard from John Denton where he talked to Carlson yesterday, it sounds like he really wants a change of scenery.
It does, and he does have options. The Cardinals DFA'd Nick Raposo to get the new players on the 40-man roster, so that's not a necessity at the moment. So they could send him to Memphis, but they're done with Dylan Carlson. He's never going to be an everyday player for this team, so you might as well just pull the Band-Aid off and make that move right now.
And I think he just needs to play consistently. Yeah. I think he will do great somewhere else, and that sucks to say because we went from cold dead hands. Of course, as he's still here, we still have to make that joke, Randy, because that was something that actually happened. Giving Mo a lot of credit, but that was part of the conversation beforehand with Dylan Carlson. It's just that there's not a place for him right now, and I think that a change of scenery would be really beneficial for him. And I hope he does really well somewhere else.
I hope he does too. He's a good guy, and I think he's a talented player.
I do too,
and I hope he lands in the right spot. And yeah, there are a lot of Cardinal fans that will be happy that he is pried away from John Mozeliak's cold, dead hands.
Very, very cold. But hey, heating up after yesterday's move. Maybe if he can pull off another situation here where you can get a reliever, then those hands are warm again.
Yep. That's Brooke. I'm Randy, and that's today's Rush Hour Reset. Coming up, where will Dylan Carlson land? Well, John Denton gave us a little roadmap, and we'll hear that next on 101 ESPN.
It's time for a DraftKings at Casino Queen Redbird report on 101 ESPN.
Brooke Grimsley here for your Redbird report. Despite Matt Carpenter's two-run homer giving the Cardinals an early lead, the Cardinals falling to the Rangers in the series opener last night 6-3. Andre Palante going 5 innings, giving up 7 hits, 3 earned runs, walking 2 while striking out 5. Lance Lynn will get the start tonight while Max Scherzer will be on the mound for the Rangers. First pitch is at 6:45. Before the trade deadline today, the Cardinals sent Tommy Edman to the Dodgers and picked up right-handed pitcher Eric Fedde and former Cardinal and outfielder Tommy Pham from the White Sox in a 3-team deal. Tommy Pham will join the active roster today, and Eric Fedde will be active on Thursday.
The Redbird Report is presented by DraftKings at Casino Queen. Play, stay, dine at DraftKings at Casino Queen.
I've been told to keep an eye out for Dylan Floro, right-handed reliever. Pitched the other day. He's actually the guy who gave up the home run to Goldie for the walk-off. It was the first home run he'd given up all year. He's the guy who won a World Series with the Dodgers in 2020. He's been on 6 different teams, having a really good year. That's a name that could surface later today. Dylan Floro for Dylan Carlson, the salaries matchup.
That's our friend John Denton of MLB.com. Earlier on in this show, Dylan Floro has been around the block. He had some really successful seasons with the Dodgers, where he has spent the majority of his time. Started with Tampa, moved on to the Cubs, and then the Reds. With the Dodgers, had an earned run average in 2018 of 1.63 in 29 games. Then in 2019, it jumped to 4.24 in 50 games, and then came back down during the COVID season. He pitched in 25 of the 60 games for LA, had a 2.59 ERA, and then in 68 games with Miami in 2021, had a 2.81. His career earned run average is 3.24, but Floro this year, in 51 games for the Nationals, has a 2.06. He's thrown 52 and a third innings and has struck out 40, and would slot in as one of the relievers, as a bridge between the 5th and the 9th to get to Ryan Helsley. He would be an interesting pickup for Dylan Carlson, and I don't know that the Cardinals can expect to get much more, Brooke, at this point for Dylan Carlson.
You mean no Pete Fairbanks?
Yeah,
I was kind of holding out hope for
I was
that
too,
one.
yeah.
That would be fantastic if they were able to pull that off.
And they would have to add more.
Yes.
And I know the Cardinals are married to their prospects, but it wouldn't bother me if they would start parting with some of these guys. Is Zach Thompson ever going to be Cardinal that they're going to count on in their rotation? Is Graceffo? Is McGreevy? Who are the guys, the young pitchers that they have in their system that they're going to count on to be starters? Because you can only start 5 or 6. You aren't going to start 10 of them. And now you're going to have Fedde next year. You're going to have Gray next year. You're going to have Michaelis next year. You still have Matz under contract, although his presence is iffy. You can, if you so desire, keep both Lynn and Gibson. Plus you have Palante. So it seems like a lot of, maybe not a lot of, but some of your young pitchers are going to be blocked that appeared at one point or another to have some ability. Graceffo was their minor league pitcher of the year. We saw what Thompson did last year down the stretch. It seems to me, Liberatore is another one. It seems to me that the Cardinals have some pitchers with stuff that have shown ability or had perceived ability in the past that they can move on from to add to a package with Carlson to get a more premier type guy.
And you heard John Mozeliak yesterday with Bally Sports Midwest. He said that they felt like they just started kind of rebuilding their farm system based off of the moves that they made last year. So maybe that was part of this. I thought this was pretty interesting. According to Baseball America, about only 1 in 5 prospects traded at the trade deadline ever go on to have really consequential major league careers, and that's with a significant improvement in recent years. What do you think about that?
Scouting has not always been great, and if you go back and just look at some of the players that the Cardinals gave up for stars when they gave up Bud Smith. And at the point that he was traded, Polanco wasn't traded. But in the trade for Scott Rowland, they did not give up much. When you give up Brett Wallace as the centerpiece of a holiday trade, he didn't really turn into much. Clayton Mortensen was another part of that deal. They have T.J. Matthews was a centerpiece, along with Ryan Ludwig's brother, Eric, of the McGuire deal. The Cardinals didn't give up much for those guys. Some teams are better at evaluating prospects than other guys. When you look at Tampa Bay over the years, they have stolen a lot of really good players from other organizations. Some teams are just better at evaluating, and most aren't. And it's hard to get a player to the major leagues and have him become a star. Look how few of them do. So essentially what you're doing, Brooke, is buying a lottery ticket. When you make a trade for prospects, you're buying a lottery ticket.
It seems even more so for a pitching prospect. Yeah. That seems to be even more of you have no idea what's going to happen there.
Well, we've talked about it. When's the last time the Cardinals developed a star pitcher that worked out?
It's been a while. You could argue Flaherty.
I can't count him. He had a great half season.
Yeah. Alex Reyes was supposed to be that guy.
Supposed to be, yep.
And things did not work out for him.
Might have to go back to Matt Morris. I'll even give them Carlos Martinez. Carlos Martinez was a really good major league starter for 3 years. Top 10 major league starter for 3 years. But that was a decade ago.
Yeah.
More than a decade ago that he came up. So it's really hard, and that's a reason that every single Cardinal starting pitcher right now came from a different organization. Palante obviously is not in the right now, wouldn't appear to be in the rotation. So the Cardinals have had difficulty developing and getting guys. Well, let's start with evaluating and then developing and getting them to the major leagues and being successful and healthy.
Yeah, I think that's the thing is that you need to start doing that. That's why I really like this Eric Fedde acquisition, because then you're addressing your needs not only for this season, but next season too, because there are some question marks about what the starting rotation will look like next year.
Can't count on Mets, right?
No.
So, Gray's going to be there. Fedde is going to be there. Michaelis is going to be there. So that's 60%. Palante may have earned a spot in the rotation, and then you bring back maybe Gibson or Lynn, or you count on one of the youngsters. I still think Brooke, and I don't believe this will happen, especially with the comments made to John Denton that the Cardinals probably will not add payroll through trade over the next couple of years. Granted, they have Paul Goldschmidt coming off the books and Gibson and or Lynn, but they aren't going to go out and get Corbin Burns. The Cardinals aren't going to go get a number one starting pitcher in free agency. That's not the waters that they swim in. They aren't going to spend $35 million a year, $37 million a year on a stud number one pitcher.
Why do you think, with those comments that you just referred to there, why do you think that the Cardinals are in this financial situation currently right now, or how they view themselves financially?
As we know with their baseball moves, they're very risk averse. They don't know what's going to happen with Bally Sports, and their attendance is down. And with all of those things coming together, maybe less TV money, certainly less ticket revenue. Bill DeWitt is not in this business to lose money, which you could do with an outrageous payroll. I would think that the Padres probably lost money last year with their payroll and with what they generated from a revenue standpoint. That's not how you become a billionaire, by losing money. And I don't think the Cardinals want to do that. They want to treat this as a business. And at worst, they want to break even. But certainly they want to make money. But I think they look at, they project, they're really good at projecting what they're going to generate in ticket revenue and what they're going to generate in TV revenue. My guess is that they are projecting that both of those streams will be reduced. And that's why they'll keep the payroll flat.
Yeah, and I do understand that from a business standpoint, but I can understand also the other side of it, the fans' frustration on the standpoint. When you hear about financial constraints, I think that really just kind of makes people go, whoa, wait a minute. I've been a dedicated fan. I've been going there for so many years, my entire life, and I've dedicated a lot of my time and my own money to this. And when they hear that, I think it kind of rubs people the wrong way is the best way to put that. Do you understand?
I understand, and that's part of... So my daughter's 26.
Yes.
And doesn't remember losing baseball. She was born in 1997. And by the time she started remembering baseball in 2004, the Cardinals have been great. There's some people that just can't accept the idea of the Cardinals being one of those teams that is middle of the pack. Well, organizationally, we've talked about this a lot. They've been passed up. They are a middle-of-the-road franchise now. At best, middle-of-the-road franchise in terms of their quality. They're pretty average, and they don't live in a big market. And one of the things, I think that people believe that the Cardinals make a lot more money than they do because they're the Cardinals. But just look and try to rationalize this. Here are the TV markets around St. Louis that the Cardinals are living in, okay? The St. Louis is the number 21 market. Cleveland is 17. Think about how much money the Guardians spend. Denver is number 18. Think about how much money the Rockies spend. Pittsburgh is number 23. Baltimore is number 26. So I think you need to think about where the Cardinals are from a market size standpoint. And when people talk about, well, we need new owners, I would suggest you Google Bruce Sherman, Miami Marlins owner. Bob Castellini, owner of the Cincinnati Reds. Bob Nutting, the owner of the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Fisher.
Look at what people in owners in similar sized markets have spent, because that's where the Cardinals are. They are a mid-market team, and I would say that they've outspent and outperformed most of the markets that are around them. Last year and this year, the Padres certainly have spent more, but we see what's happening. They traded a bunch of talent and they had to let their whole starting rotation from last year go. And so I think sometimes you got to be careful of what you wish for when you say we want a new ownership, because the likelihood is much stronger that if the DeWitts would sell this franchise, that we would wind up with an ownership similar to Minnesota, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, Kansas City, Baltimore. I think it'd be much more likely that we'd wind up with an organization that didn't spend money at all, rather than be in the top 10 or 11 in payroll on a regular basis.
And their starting rotation is really expensive. Going back to your point about prospects and developing pitching and the Cardinals' issues with that we've seen, especially in recent years. We did have some people, to answer your question earlier about developing pitching and how the Cardinals have not been able to do that. Some pointed out Lance Lynn, which that was a while ago.
Yep.
And then Michael Wacha being another one.
But he got hurt.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of people see that, too, as another thing here, is that your starting rotation is expensive. Sonny Gray's salary doubles next year, I believe. So this is going to be this is already an expensive starting rotation, because you've had to go out and get these pieces from outside the organization. I mean, that's pretty expensive in itself.
And a long time ago, because Tony didn't have young players. Tony didn't like young players. So we always had a veteran crew, and it was a veteran crew. I remember Peter Gammon saying they have a $100 million team that they're paying $80 million to, because players wanted to come here and play for less. McGuire, Edmonds, Kyle, Roland, those guys wanted to come here and were willing to play for less. Nobody does that anymore. Nobody gives the Cardinals the hometown discount. And so I go way back before then, and the Cardinals would always develop a good young player. If you go back through Whitey Herzog's tenure, they brought up a star rookie every single year, whether it was McGee in 82 or Danny Cox in 83 or Pendleton in 84 and Coleman in 85. And then Worrell was the rookie of the year in 86 and McGrain in 87. Every year they were bringing up a young star player that became an all-star. And that just doesn't happen with this organization anymore. And that's why they have been caught up to and past. They need to do a much better job systemically of evaluating, developing, getting young players to the major league level. Credit right now to all the young players they have. Burleson might become a star. Donovan is a really good player.
Yes.
Mason Wynn is going to be a star. Nolan Gorman has the ability, if he'll just be coached.
Ryan Helsley.
Right. No doubt. Pajes. They've got a lot of good young players, but they don't do it consistently. And I think that's one of the things they need to do better. And they need to get Walker going, because they need a star.
And I think that's the big reason why they brought in Chaim Bloom. Isn't that what you assume? I know that some people see that, and they see that more as a scary thing because of the money side of it and the aspect of everything that happened with him when he went to the Red Sox and having to cut ties with Mookie Betts. Don't you think behind the scenes that was more of a situation with Bloom where the Red Sox needed that to happen financially?
That was the first thing he did, and they forced him into it. Yeah, he had no choice but to trade Mookie Betts and had to get the best deal he could, because they didn't. And it was understandable on ownership's part, too, because they would have had to pay like $60 million in luxury tax revenue for Betts. But he was stuck with that, and he did the best he could. But Chaim Bloom's career is Tampa, and I think that's ultimately where the Cardinals want to go. I think that they would much rather have their organization mirrored after the Rays than the Red Sox or the Yankees or just go with any team that has a big money payroll on a regular basis. The Dodgers. I think that we're probably headed more towards Rays than Doyers.
If you can develop pitching like the Rays, then I think that would be fantastic.
And evaluate other teams' organizations.
Yes, they are good at that. We know all too well.
Right. And that's one thing that the Cardinals need to do a lot better at, right? Because right now, let's look at the Cardinals selling last year. We'll do this in 30 seconds. Who from last year's sell is doing well for the Cardinals this year?
Who from last year's sale?
John King.
Yeah.
John King.
You had Tekoa.
Kloffenstein had a game.
In the minors, though, I know that Tekoa Roby had dealt with some issues, some injury issues, but it seems like he's doing a little bit better here as of late. So maybe
hopefully he'll be something.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully JC will wind up being something. So, but there's just, right now, it doesn't appear that there's an awful lot there. That's Brooke. I'm Randy. Coming up on 101 ESPN. By the way, we're here till 11 today.
Hey!
Oh, that'll be fun. Tim is out sick.
Get better soon, Tim.
What do you guys want to do?
Yeah, I hope he feels better.
Oh, I know what's coming.
What?
A hill to die on.
Oh God, I have to think of.
Oh, we've got a hill to die on.
I've been trying. I've been literally thinking of one for the last hour. But again, if you guys didn't hear, I said in the updates, we added a guest. 10:15. Jesse Rogers will join us. Obviously, a lot of things happening with the Cubs and the White Sox. Of course, the Cardinals acquired some White Sox, and of course, the story we're about to talk about going on with the front office battling the biggest prospect for the White Sox and Garrett Crochet.
And we're going to talk about him next on 101 ESPN. Hey, it's Randy, and when it comes time to sell your home, you need a reliable, experienced, and trusted agent. Take it from me and get to know St. Louis real estate expert Gloria Liu with Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Here's why you should call. Gloria's name is her promise and says it all. Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Gloria has mastered the home selling promise by guaranteeing upfront and in writing to sell your home at your agreed-to price and time frame, or she'll buy it herself, and that's guaranteed. Gloria has solutions for every kind of home seller. If you want a fast sale with no hassles, Gloria's multiple cash offer program is a great option to consider. No showings, no costly repairs, and you pick the closing date. You always get the highest cash offer to choose from in minutes with Gloria Lou. Her number is 314-325-6888, 314-325-6888, or you can visit her on the web at gloriahasthebuyers.com. She has thousands of ready buyers ready for you and ready to pay in your price range. Learn more by visiting gloriahasthebuyers.com. As always, Gloria and seller must agree on price and possession date.
This is Rocc here with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Cardinals yesterday fall to the Rangers. They'll be back in action tonight. 6:45 first pitch will be Max Scherzer facing off against Lance Lynn. Scherzer on the season 2-3 with a 3.57 ERA. Lance Lynn on the year 5-4 with a 4.17 ERA. The big number for Lance Lynn. 14 home runs allowed, just 5 so far this year for Max Scherzer. That is your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at Londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
This is the opening drive on 101 ESPN.
Trade deadline is at 5 o'clock this afternoon. We have a balloon party that we will have for you coming up in the 10 o'clock hour. We can talk to Jesse Rogers of ESPN in the 10 o'clock hour. Then in the 11 o'clock hour until 2, BK and Ferrario will be keeping an eye on the X machine, and then the fast lane from 2 to 6 this afternoon, and they'll break it all down. Chris Getz is the general manager of the Chicago White Sox, and he says that he and Garrett Crochet, his top starting pitcher, are fine in terms of their relationship. But here's what Getz said about his pitcher going public with his usage desires. Said that he won't pitch in October if he gets traded unless he gets an extension. He said, quote, "We understand why a stance would be taken like that. How you go about expressing that was a bit hurtful, quite honestly, considering we could have handled it a little bit differently and still accomplished what everyone wanted to accomplish." He did say, Getz did, that multiple teams backed off of their interest in Garrett Crochet when his agent made those comments. And that's completely understandable for a couple of reasons. Number one, if you just want to take it at face value, you're getting a guy for the playoffs this year, and he doesn't want to pitch in the playoffs. Well, he doesn't have to, and then you're stuck without the pitcher that you got for the playoffs, not pitching for you. And the other part of it is Brooke, is you have to question the competitive desires of a pitcher when he tells everybody in the world, hey, I'm not going to pitch until I get my money.
Yeah, I think that really throws a lot of teams off, I would say. And it's not surprising that a lot of teams have backed off on the trade deadline talks surrounding him. I am so surprised that his agent would come out with these demands. That's why I wonder if this is more of a player or an agent thing that is coming out and creating these demands. I mean, he has to, of course, agree with these. But do you think that the agent had a lot of say in this, of making him think that this is a good idea to make these demands?
This has agent all over it. Agent fingerprints all over it. That's one of the things John Mozeliak gets calls all the time from agents at the minor league level. Scott Boras is notorious for calling and just berating teams for the way they treat his pitchers. But isn't it interesting that it was the Nationals that took the hit when they didn't pitch Steven Strasburg down the stretch in his first full year. Mm-hmm. And now Crochet does the same thing as a player, and he's taking the hit. So maybe you just can't win unless the guy pitches, or maybe the thing to do is not to tell anybody what your plans are. This guy, if he's with the White Sox, wasn't going to pitch and this is to what Chris Getz is talking about. He certainly wasn't going to pitch for the White Sox in the postseason. So maybe if Chris Getz would have been telling teams, hey, look, we'll allow you to do an extension with him, and he won't pitch for you in October unless he gets an extension, it might have been more palatable for teams to privately go about an extension rather than publicly have to know about it. And certainly the White Sox are behind the 8 ball knowing that the guy has to get an extension.
This is also his first professional season as a starter.
Yeah.
And the innings, he has really racked up a lot of innings. Of course, this is a lot for him with his first professional season as a starter. And his inning total is just continuing to mount up. So he might not even be available in October anyway. So that's another big issue here. And another layer to this is when people were talking about Garrett Crochet, I thought it made a lot of sense to have him go into the bullpen. I know that Dan pushed back on that idea, but he has really racked up a lot of innings for his career. As a team, you would really worry about that, about his usage going down the stretch. And so you would have him come out of the bullpen and work him back up as a starter towards the end to get him ramped up for October, knowing that you have him healthy and fully ready to go.
I agree with your idea, but I wonder if the pitcher agrees with that idea. And from a team standpoint, I guess it depends on where you are in the race. If you're the Doyers, you know you're going to be in the playoffs, right? So you don't worry about it. But if you're the Cardinals and get Crochet, you're getting him to help you make the playoffs too. You need him in September. It's not like he wouldn't do you any good out of the bullpen in September. But when you go get a guy like that, you're getting him to start games for you down the stretch so that you can make the playoffs.
I think the biggest thing there, though, is that along with that and the extension, it sounds like he doesn't sound flexible in any way. So I think that's what has hindered him, is that if a team wanted to take the bullpen approach, that doesn't seem like something he would be willing to do. If a team wanted to wait till October, that's not something he'd be willing to do. And he needs an extension. Once again, this is just his first professional season as a starter, and he has all these demands. For a team, they would want more flexibility, especially if they have experience of, okay, this is what we know, but will work best for you. But you're not even going to listen to that. I can see that being such a huge issue. And Ken Rosenthal, he spoke yesterday about teams really backing off of him because of that.
I don't know that he killed it, AJ. He just changed the equation for certain teams. Certain teams, from my understanding, bailed after that all came out. And then there's teams that are still in the mix. Now, the White Sox had been focused on Fedde. So Crochet had been on the back burner. That's what I was told this morning. But now, with more than 24 hours to go into the deadline, they can focus on Crochet and teams that might be interested in getting him. The Dodgers and Padres have been in this from the beginning. I don't expect them to go away. And keep in mind, too, that even if you acquire Crochet and you don't give him an extension, he might not be available for the playoffs anyway because of his mounting innings total. So from the White Sox perspective, if you don't get the deal you want now, he'll have just as much value in the offseason because he's going to be available for 2 years at that point. He's available for 2+ now, but if he's not a guy that you can count on for the playoffs, even with an extension, if your team did that, which I don't expect that they would, well, then really the same value applies in November as it would right now, because you'd have him, yes, for the rest of this regular season, but to what extent, no one knows. But the 2 years, the 2 remaining years, that's where the value is with Crochet, if you can't count on him for the playoffs, and I don't know that you can.
Now, Chris Getz, the GM of the White Sox, was asked if the situation complicated the Crochet trade market, and he said, quote, "It's created some questions. The short-term and long-term consequences are unknown," unquote. And Brooke, if I were a general manager that was interested in Garrett Crochet, I would question his competitiveness and his desire to pitch in the playoffs and win a championship.
Yeah, I would. I would 100%, because already creating those demands, he has to be getting some bad advice from an agent here, because he doesn't have any negotiating leverage, honestly.
The one thing that he does have is, because players don't get paid for the playoffs, is the ability to withhold his playoff performance if somebody would trade for him. But, man, that's a bad look, isn't it? If you're a player that refuses to pitch in the playoffs because you didn't get a contract extension. And that's, by the way, where you can make big money.
Yeah, exactly.
If you pitch well in the playoffs, you can make big, big money.
And I'm shocked. The only thing I can think of is maybe he just wants to stay with the White Sox right now.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't figure out why he would put himself in this situation currently.
I got so spoiled by John Tudor coming back from a broken leg to pitch in the postseason in '87. By Chris Carpenter, he literally couldn't feel his face and pitched through that, and then had a rib removed and came back so that he could pitch in the playoffs. Bob Gibson coming back from a broken leg. I'm so spoiled by really competitive people that I can't understand somebody who's in a competitive environment who doesn't want to compete. I just don't get it.
I don't either. Especially playing at that level.
Yeah.
It makes no sense.
Yeah.
Can you understand a business person trying to manage their asset the best they can?
Yeah, sure.
Even from a business standpoint, I don't think I can even understand it.
So what give me a comp here. What are you talking about?
I think the idea here is from the Crochet camp is that they're looking at this from the long-term business aspect of managing their asset and
so
putting
he's
it in
in
the
it
best
for, he's
position.
in it to make money and not to win.
That could be. This decision seems like he's prioritizing the long-term ability of him to have a long-term career and make as much money as possible over the short term of winning for a franchise that isn't actually going to win. Or not control, or maybe not control, because he's going to get moved.
But the Dodgers are in the same boat. He said he wouldn't pitch in October unless he has an extension. So if the Dodgers get him, he doesn't want to pitch for the Dodgers in the postseason?
Because he's prioritizing the long-term future.
You see, I don't even think from a financial standpoint even makes sense, because you're just hindering your stock by showing your cards and what you really truly are, I guess, as a player and what you're not willing to do. I think it hinders you more financially in the future.
Yeah. As was said so perfectly and succinctly in the movie The Natural. I think you're a loser. We've got to rock and roll coming up next on 101 ESPN. You may have missed National Wing Day yesterday at the Fenton Bar and Grill, but that doesn't mean that you are going to miss out on the wings. Head to the Fenton Bar and Grill on Rudder Road in Fenton and enjoy the best trashed wings that you will ever have. It's awesome to go into that parking lot and taste or have the smell of the trashed wings wafting through the air, and then you walk in and you order them, and they're absolutely delicious. You get those wings with their signature golden sauce. It's delicious. It's a mouth-watering, or their ranch, and it is absolutely fantastic. And they have such a great menu. You'll love the wraps and salads and sandwiches and burgers at the Fenton Bar and Grill. And great people, too. You'll be served by Megan and be served by Kelly and Casey. The whole gang is just so friendly and so fun. And it's a great sports place. You'll love the vibe. It is a dive with a vibe. That's what they call it at the Fenton Bar and Grill. You can learn more by going to FentonBarandGrill.com and checking out their menu. They do a lot of things on Facebook. And they're just a great place to go and have a great lunch, happy hour, dinner. If you're hungry or if you just want to have a good time, it's the Fenton Bar and Grill. When you go, tell them Randy sent you.
Let's rock. Let's rock today.
Alex Ferrario will be at the Federated Auto Parts Raceway at I-55 Friday from 4 to 6, gearing up for the Ironman 55. The World of Outlaws NOS Energy Sprint Cars are back for a high-speed weekend, including the most challenging race on the tour, the Ironman 55. Don't miss out on this extravaganza taking place Friday and Saturday at the Federated Auto Parts Raceway at I-55 in Pevely, Mo. Alex Ferrario is going to be there. Get all the details now at 101ESPN.com. Yes,
you kind of went in and out of the little southern draw a little bit.
Well,
you hit it on certain words, and then you went
Outlaws.
back. Outlaws.
Yeah, World of Outlaws. Awesome Bill from Dawsonville.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. It's the NOS Energy Sprint Cars back for high-speed weekend. So check it out, the Ironman 55. Details at 101ESPN.com. Alex Ferrario is going to be there.
Quick, tell me a city name that ends in V-I-L-E. L-L-E.
Niceville. Louisville.
There we go. Okay, I was making sure. There we go. Okay, to make sure to help you with the true Southern draw, it needs to be if it's spelled at the end V-I-L-L-E, then it's Vol.
Oakville.
There we go.
That's another one. Oh, God, other ones.
Yep.
Shelville. Nashville. You don't say Nashville.
No,
that's how you know somebody's not from Tennessee.
I wonder if
oh, God forbid.
If somebody from Tennessee moves to Edwardsville, do they just call it? Where do you live? Edwardsville.
Edwardsville, yeah, and just throw everybody off.
Yeah.
Go back to where you came from. That's how we pronounce things here.
All right, we're on, by the way, until 11 o'clock today. Tim McKernan out sick. Hope you feel better, Timmy. Matthew, what do you got for us?
Well, again, last night I thought was a really special night on the Cardinals broadcast, and so I just kind of want to relive what I thought was one of the cooler moments. We've heard Joe Buck talk about the moments from Game 6, but I don't think I'll ever get sick of it.
Freeze hits it in the air to center. We will see you tomorrow night. If you believe in baseball serendipity, that call, that moment for you here at Busch Stadium had to be exactly that.
A lot of emotions hearing that as Donovan is in the hole now, 1 ball, 2 strikes. It was basically 20 years to the day that my dad had made that call in a Game 6 with the Minnesota Twins and Kirby Puckett. And for a St. Louis kid to do that after tying it in the 9th inning, after being the MVP of the NLCS, that to me, that game is still the best baseball game I've ever seen.
I agree, Joe. I agree wholeheartedly.
I love that he channeled his dad there. The broadcast was fantastic last night with Joe Buck and Chip Carey. And you mentioned it. It just felt like it was so free flow, so easy. Love the conversations, and they're both hilarious at the same time too. And so just bouncing off each other, the stories that they would tell, I enjoyed it so much. I also just think it's so funny that Joe Buck, he's been asked by ESPN to do some more baseball games, and he hasn't done them. But at the same time, then he'll just fill in every once in a while now for a random Cardinals game to be back in the booth here.
And think about how nationally iconic Joe's dad, Jack, and Chip's grandfather, Harry, are. Harry, once they got to the superstation WGN and he came, he was, heck, they did Saturday Night Live skits about Harry Carey. And everybody knows Jack Buck. Everybody knows Go Crazy Folks, or I Don't Believe What I Just Saw, or We'll See You Tomorrow Night. So many iconic calls. By the way, he was as awesome a football broadcaster as he was a baseball broadcaster and called multiple Super Bowls on the radio. To have those two guys be St. Louis guys, and then add Joe Buck and Chip, who's done a ton of national stuff, and Bob Costas, and Steve Schlanger's at the Olympics now. We have so many great broadcasters that have come out of, Danny Mack is one of the best. We have so many great broadcasters that have come out of St. Louis. Greg Amsinger. We're very lucky. I'm talking about national guys.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but still, we have had so many great broadcasters come from here. I also like that they snuck in a high school joke, too. That is very St. Louis of them, talking about Max Scherzer going to Parkway Central, and they said, well, that was the second best Parkway school.
Maybe third.
Ooh.
Randy gets in there.
Controversy there.
John Kelly, Steve Savard.
That's pretty good.
Andy Strickland. Man. Randy Carricker.
Oh, yeah.
See, Parkway North.
Yeah.
So, sorry, Chip.
One thing that did jump out from the broadcast yesterday is that they played the clip of Jack singing Take Me Out to the Ball Game. I had no idea, because my entire life I've always just focused on that Jack singing the national anthem. This is incredible. I had no idea Chip was standing there in the booth right next to him.
And so happy.
And he's laughing. He's like, he just can't believe it's happening. Jack's making the switch out from the Cubs hat to the Cardinals hat. He's got the glasses. Like, I had no idea Chip was there. I'd seen the clip before and never clocked it. And now watching that clip, it adds an entire new element to it, and it makes it even better than it already was.
And they come back to the booth, and Joe's got tears in his eyes. He said, let's go back to the game, because he was so choked up by watching it.
Eventually, they come back to him about a minute later, and he's collected himself, and he explains, he goes, that was essentially the last year of my dad's life. And you saw him out there, and to be there and watch him do that, he goes, there's nothing better. And to hear that, just the raw emotion, obviously, anytime we get Joe, we're lucky enough to get Joe on the air, it's always there. And last night, it just was a really special broadcast.
And Jack really was unbelievable with that Parkinson's. Joe told the stories about how Jack could be, shaking, but signing the autograph still, and would joke about it and say, because at the same time, Muhammad Ali was dealing with Parkinson's. He said, ran into Muhammad Ali. We both were shaking hands and we couldn't let go.
But that's where Joe gets his personality from.
No doubt about it.
He's so funny. He's so funny.
Coming up, John Elway with a very interesting admission that might have changed the course of the recent NFL. It's coming your way on 101 ESPN.
long is it going to take him to realize that I passed on him and took Bradley and Chubb instead?
Yeah, it's crazy.
And it took him 2.5 holes to bring it up and I loved him, right?
Yeah.
But it just
he was your type.
He was my type, and you're right. That was probably my biggest mistake of my GM days was not taking Josh.
That is John Elway on the Pardon My Take podcast. Welcome to the Balloon Party on 101 ESPN in St. Louis, where it's 10 o'clock. Time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Brooke, Matthew, Randy, Tim McKernan out sick today. And John Elway started off, he was talking about playing golf with Josh Allen, whom he could have taken with the 5th pick in the 2019 NFL draft, but took 2018 draft, but took defensive pass rusher Bradley Chubb instead, and admitted that not taking Josh Allen to be his quarterback with that 5th pick was the biggest mistake of his career. And so he and Allen were playing in a golf tournament a couple of years ago, and he said, I wonder how long, that's what it came up with. I wondered how long it'd take him to talk about me not taking him. It took 2.5 holes for Josh Allen to say, why didn't you take me? How would that have changed the Broncos? How would that have changed the Bills? How would that have changed the NFL? How would that have changed the rivalry between Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes?
Oh, that's what I was going to say. This changes the entire league. I want to see an alternate universe where this does actually happen, to see this play out, where you would have Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen and continuing that kind of budding rivalry, but in a bigger way. I would love to see that. I like that he admitted that mistake, but now I'm just imagining what that alternate universe would look like if it was a reality.
And that would have been a bold move, because Bradley Chubb was a really good pass rusher for them, and it would have changed the course of some careers. Vance Joseph was in his 2nd year as the head coach of the Broncos. I wonder if he gets Josh Allen, does he get more of an opportunity? He was fired after going 6-10. Here's the weird part about that, though, Brooke, is that they signed Case Keenum to be their quarterback, a free agent Case Keenum to be their quarterback that year. And there were questions about Josh Allen. I wasn't completely bought in on Josh Allen, but to me, if you're John Elway and you're a Hall of Fame quarterback, and you said right there on that podcast that you loved Josh Allen, why wouldn't you take him? Why?
I have no idea.
I wonder what they were thinking in that front office when they took Bradley Chubb rather than Allen.
I don't know. What do you think?
I think that he was probably in such desperation win now mode. He thought Case Keenum could do for the Broncos what he did for the Vikings in getting him to a championship game, to a conference championship game. He had other decent talent on the Broncos. And here's the big thing probably. He had a defensive-minded coach in Vance Joseph who probably thought, okay, we can get after the quarterback. They still had Von Miller then. We put Chubb and Von Miller together, and we can be the fiercest pass-rushing team in the NFL. I'm sure that that's what they thought. And by the way, Elway did say that he thought that in 2017 that Bradley Chubb was the best college football player in the land.
Well, and remember Von Miller's reaction to getting Chubb. So I think at the time, like everybody thought that it was, and it was a great decision. And you could also maybe argue, did they have the tools to really develop a quarterback like Allen there?
Probably not. They probably didn't have the staff at that point. Elway might have been the only guy to do it because Kubiak was gone at that point. They really didn't have. So then you could wonder if Allen would have turned into Allen. If he would have been what he has become. But he hasn't really had the greatest developmental people in Buffalo either. Defensive-minded head coach, and didn't really have great offensive coordinators or quarterbacks coaches there either.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. It's not like they were giving him that great of an offensive line or a ton of weapons beyond Stefan Diggs. I can't. We almost had Broncos Country Let's Ride taken away from us. That would be the saddest thing. And I also love if you go back to the audio. I think Big Cat, if you go listen to the full audio, probably goes, well, was that your biggest mistake as a GM, or was it signing Russell Wilson to that huge contract, which is probably a bigger mistake? But just the Russell Wilson factor is the thing I can't stop thinking about, because I'm trying to go back to the offseason and figure out what other team could have been available for Russell Wilson to go to if the Broncos aren't there, and how does that, and what are all the things from there? Is Russell Wilson a completely different quarterback now if he doesn't go through Denver, and if he has a better infrastructure around him?
And Elway didn't make that trade, right? That was
he gone already?
Peyton, because they just did it a year ago. right?
I guess it was only a year ago. Gosh, it feels like it was like 3 years ago.
Yeah, maybe it was 2. It was 2 years ago.
Was it 2 years ago?
But Elway was gone by the time they made that deal. I'm pretty sure that George Payton made that deal. But man, that's that actually I hadn't thought of it as a what if, but we always ask the what ifs in sports, and that's a great what if, isn't it?
I'm sure that they also thought that Paxton Lynch would turn into something more than he did. Oh, I'm sorry to bring that up.
We had a text who said the 417 threw that out there, and I think you actually do need to think about it for a second. Not just that it's a quarterback and a quarterback, but it's a big quarterback with a big arm without a lot of stats at the college level at a smaller school. Obviously, Wyoming, and then Paxton Lynch was coming out of Memphis, right? Was it Memphis for Paxton Lynch? Or
I think it was Memphis, yeah.
So I mean, they're not coming out of Power 5 conferences, so you wonder about the level they've been playing at. Again, they're big arms, but the accuracy was a big question. The decision making was a big question. So it's not just that it's quarterback. It's that Paxton Lynch is kind of what the worst case scenario was for Josh Allen.
Memphis is correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I mean, there are kind of some similarities there when you look at the Paxton Lynch deal, and it kind of does make sense.
Yeah. So what a great what if, and man, Denver has just been a mess. And really, when you look at John Elway's career, the first half was really good. The second half of the GM career, not so good. But that organization, after the ownership, that Pat Bowlen got sick, and then the kids kind of ran it. I think a guy named Ellis ran it for a long time, and then the new ownership has taken over. They seem like they're kind of dysfunctional.
They really do. And then you kind of question everything that happened with Wilson, as you mentioned there, which we'll never forget that era. I was actually in Colorado because, remember, the Blues were playing the Avalanche when they had acquired Russell Wilson. And I was in Colorado because it was during the playoff series where they were facing them in Colorado against the Avalanche. And I remember Wilson was in the house, and the fans were so ecstatic that he was with the Denver Broncos. And, man, that changed quickly.
And looking back, I wonder if anybody in Denver ever wonders why any football player, whether it's Tom Brady or whether it's Kurt Warner or whether it's Russell Wilson who got them, why does any player need 2 spots in the player's lot? 2 parking spots.
I don't know. If you have a very big, did he have a Hummer? I can't even remember what vehicle he had.
He had an assistant that had to be there, his own personal quarterback's coach.
Even people with Hummers, and I'm sure some Hummer owners out there are very respectful with their parking spaces. You could make it work, but there's the gym I go to, there is this Hummer that parks in 2 parking spots. So
Really?
that's why that was my first reaction.
And they haven't made those since 2008. That's when Hummer went out of business.
I still see them
Isn't
around
that wild?
everywhere.
How do you like that new Tesla with the angled Tesla?
Hate it. I was actually going to save that for a sick of it one day. I keep seeing some of them around town.
There's at least one down in the south side.
And I don't know if it's the same person or not. And I'm sorry.
I know one of the guys.
I'm sorry, but I hate that car. It literally looks like when I was a child and I tried to draw a car. That's what it looks like. It is hideous. Absolutely hideous.
I think if you go to Harrison Bader's Instagram, I think he has one that's wrapped, if I'm not mistaken.
I am shocked that he has one of those.
Why?
That's sarcasm.
Oh.
I'm not shocked.
Yeah, I agree.
That fits his person. It's not. Come on, you're surprised that Harrison Bader has that?
No, not at all.
No, not whatsoever.
Yeah, it says I don't know. It says ALB on the side here.
Is this some type of advertisement for Harrison?
I wonder what his real name is. It could be his initials.
Yeah, I bet it's some sort of advertisement. I will say with
ALB.
Harrison Bader,
it's a vodka.
His middle name's Joseph.
Okay, it's ALB vodka. He's driving a wrapped ALB vodka Tesla.
I told you he's all about marketing. I remember during spring training one year when he had the long curly hair, and I said, "Do you want to talk about the hair products that you use?" Because in spring training, you get serious stuff, but you also talk about goofy stuff. Right. And he was like dead serious. He said, I haven't worked out a deal with the people yet for my hair products. So, and he was being serious, but he's a great player, very nice
Fun guy, yeah.
But he always was thinking about marketing first.
Good for him. So
and
he's
baseball.
got the ALB Tesla.
There you go.
ALB vodka. Harrison Bader.
Still hate those cars.
Yeah. Coming up, we're going to talk about Eric Fedde, Tommy Pham, and what the White Sox are thinking with Jesse Rogers of ESPN. He's next on this balloon party on 101 ESPN. Grimsley and Randy Carricker in for Tim McKernan today. He's out sick. It's the balloon party on 101 ESPN. And joining us now on the celebrity line is ESPN's Jesse Rogers. He's based in Chicago and can tell us about what the Cardinals are getting with the trade yesterday. Good morning, Jesse. Great to have you with us. How you doing?
I am doing good. Good to be with you.
We always appreciate you taking some time. Obviously, Eric Fedde is better than he ever was with Washington. How do you like this move for the Cardinals?
Oh, I love it. I mean, I think it's a really good move. I think he's a solid pitcher. I think he'll be good down the stretch this year. I think he'll be fine next year. Like, you've got a ready-made pitcher who's built up. You don't have to worry about it like with Garrett Crochet. He's different than he was. I mean, you can't look at his numbers pre-Korea. He learned a sweeper there, slider sweeper. He didn't have that in his arsenal before going to Korea. He's come back, and that's his pitch. That really is his pitch. His cutter and sinker set up his sweeper, and that's been the out pitch this year. He's a solid middle of the rotation guy, maybe even closer to a 2 than a 3. So I have nothing bad to say about Eric Fedde.
And then what about Tommy Pham, the addition that he will be now returning back to the Cardinals?
Just make sure Tommy Pham gets his at-bats. Okay, Tommy Pham needs to be in the lineup. You guys know him well down there. I'm a Tommy Pham guy. I think he really helped the Diamondbacks down the stretch last year. I think he can do the same for the Cardinals. Even the White Sox, they signed him in April, and they were awful in April. They're still awful. But as soon as he came up and was on the Major League team, he gave them a little boost. He gave him a boost in the lineup. He gave him a boost in the locker room. Nothing bad to say about Tommy Pham. I still think he has some hits in that bat. But like any player, he probably needs some consistent playing time, and he will give it his all. I know that. He will give it his all on the field. And if he isn't hitting, he will not be a happy camper. And that's, he'll look himself in the mirror and say he needs to be better. So I can't say anything bad about Fedde or Pham. I think you're getting two players that will help.
Jesse, when I first got word of this trade, I was flabbergasted. Okay, what else besides Edman? What else besides Edman? Right. They got to give up something else besides Edman for Fedde and Pham. What was your reaction when you digested the whole deal?
Yeah, I think similar. I really thought Edman would go to the Dodgers once it was announced, and then we'd hear about a prospect or two from St. Louis going to Chicago. And the White Sox would get a couple, 3 from the Dodgers and maybe 1 or 2 from the Cardinals, and that would be the haul. It never came. So moving on from Edman, who hasn't played this season, I think is an incredible deal for St. Louis. Yes, you are subtracting a good major league player, but you are where you are without him this year. So it's like adding 2 guys for nothing. I really think you can look at it that way. Edman's a loss, but again, he has not helped this team this year. So how big of a loss is it? So I think it's a really good deal for St. Louis, mostly because of Fedde and that extra year. I think it would have been a decent deal if Fedde was just a rental. But the fact you have him next year as well, I think, is a huge boost.
It's crazy how quickly things can change in a matter of weeks. Garrett Crochet was one of the top names that people thought would be moved very quickly at the trade deadline, and he still could be moved. I know that there's still a lot of time today, but it seems like his comments from his agent have really hindered that ability and maybe has made it to the point where teams have backed off of it a little bit.
Yeah, it's very well. They definitely have. We'll see if it's to the extent where he's not traded today. I'm getting all sorts of mixed signals really in the last 24 hours. Thought he would be traded. As of this moment, I'm not so sure. But you're right. Those comments definitely muddied the waters. I know this. If he's not traded now, he will be in November, December. I also think that we don't care about November, December. We only care about the here and now. So it's real interesting. I think it's still possible he's moved to a team that is willing to sort of acquiesce to part of his demands. And I don't mean they would give him the extension. I think there's a chance he can get moved, pitch down the stretch, and just not pitch in October. I mean, Steven Strasburg did not pitch in October 2012. The Nationals shut him down, and they lost in the division series. Everybody was critical of it. I think there's a few teams that could use him, Atlanta, San Diego, in the regular season, but would be willing to acquiesce to the agency's demands and not pitch him in the postseason. I don't know that for sure. I'm just giving you 2 teams. I'm just, I'm not saying that's a for sure. I think this whole thing is fluid. but I don't think it's impossible. But I do think it's much more difficult now that he's gone public with those desires.
And Jesse, you're all over the trade deadline, and we're coming up on 5 o'clock here this afternoon. What's the hottest rumor going right now, and who do you think is an absolute to get traded by 5 o'clock?
I'll give you 2 to 3 names. Tanner Scott, absolutely. The Marlins are going to make a few trades. Jack Flaherty, I think, absolutely. I'd be really surprised if he's not moved. I think Kyle Finnegan, a little less so, but I would not be surprised. Scott and Flaherty would be the top 2 that I would say almost guaranteed. I mean, Scott definitely. There's just, if you're a team that's out of the race, there's just no reason to hold on to late inning relievers. There really isn't. If you think you're going to challenge and contend next year and you want to hold on to them, but who knows what Tanner Scott's going to be next year? Who knows what Kyle Finnegan's going to be next year? And where's the path that the Marlins are going to compete next year? So you can bank on some of these relievers moving, especially Scott. I'm not sure about Finnegan. He's got another year of team control. And the Nats actually might want to contend next year. And he's asking for a lot for Finnegan as well. So I'm looking at that market, the reliever market, maybe Mark Leiter Jr. on the Cubs, maybe Hector Neris on the Cubs. Flaherty for sure. Maybe Cal Quantrill on the Rockies. I mean, we've seen the starters market move, so I don't know if there'll be a ton of starters that go, but I'd put Flaherty at the top of the list.
Hey, Jesse, I wanted to swing back just for a moment to the idea of Crochet to the Padres, because they have Joe Musgrove coming back. They might get Darvish back for playoff time. That would be almost perfect for them and for Crochet, wouldn't it? If they could get him for the rest of the regular season, let him sit like he wants to, and then get one of or both of those 2 starters back.
Right. I think that's what A.J. Preller is thinking about. I mean, the Padres were in Chicago on Sunday scouting Crochet. He didn't look great, but, he's been great all year. I think that's exactly right. Or the Dodgers, who are sort of getting inventory back on the mound. Mm-hmm. Atlanta is hopeful that Ronaldo Lopez and Max Fried will be there. So that's what I'm thinking about, teams that have pitchers coming back from injury and they don't have to ride Garrett Crochet. And I really think the Padres want to make the playoffs. They can't take on a lot of salary. Crochet is due a raise, but Preller, he could make the trade for Crochet and then turn around and trade him again in November. So I think that's why there's a match there. But it's still difficult because I think the Sox want to haul, and maybe teams are saying, hey, we're not going to give you as much because he's not going to pitch in October.
Speaking of the White Sox, I know that you talked to their general manager, Chris Getz. What is their goal? And I know that it seems like such a simple question, but I'm just trying to figure out what their goal is here. I mean, they've lost 15 straight games. Now they're sending away a lot of their big talent. What do you think? Is there a 5-year plan of what they're trying to accomplish here, or what do you think is going on with the White Sox?
Your plan, he said that on the radio recently. Yeah, that's it. They're starting over. They're just stripping it down. They're starting over. Who knows? They're trying to get a new stadium. Maybe they're pointing to 5-6 years from now when they, if in fact they do get the new stadium. You know how that works. You want to be sort of fielding a good team if you open a new stadium. But that's it. They're trading anything not tied down. And what I mean by that is anyone with like 3 years or less of team control or under contract for 3 or less, I think they're willing to move. They want to pick up quantity as well as quality, of course, and years of service time. So yesterday they got rid of Pham, 2-month rental, Fedde a year and a half, Michael Kopech, a year and a half or whatever, and they brought back 3 guys that have 6 years of service time. That's what they're trying to do. They just, from experts around the league, more than me, they just didn't do great on it. It doesn't sound like they did great on the 3 prospects they got back. One of them's a major league player, Miguel Vargas. So they're just trying to gather as much as they can. This is what teams do when they bottom out, and that's all that the White Sox are trying to do.
Jesse Rogers of ESPN, one more quick thing, and you listed a great list of potential relief pitchers available. That's the other thing that John Mozeliak has said the Cardinals want to get. They wanted to get a right-handed bat, a starting pitcher, and a relief pitcher. How aggressive are you hearing Mo is right now?
A little less than yesterday. I think that was the big move. But I still hear the Cardinals chatter. I still hear them knocking on some doors. I mean, I think a lot of relievers are going to move today, or at least a good number. And, yeah, maybe the Cardinals will be in on one. I don't know that for sure. because, like I said, I think their big move was yesterday. But every contender is trying to fortify the back end. At 5:15 Central, we're going to hear moves. Like even after the deadline, you're going to hear this reliever move, that reliever move, a backup catcher move. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Cardinals had one more in them, but I don't have anything imminent on them.
Jesse, we'll be following you today on X, and always love your work at ESPN. Thanks so much for the time. We appreciate it. We'll talk soon.
You got it. Anytime. Be well.
See you later. You too. Jesse Rogers, ESPN, does fantastic work, and a little bit more insight on the new Cardinals and old new Cardinals. Eric Fedde and the old new Cardinal, Tommy Pham, who, by the way, is going to wear number 29. He was 28 when he was here, and Nolan Arenado is going to keep 28, and Eric Fedde is going to wear number 12.
Oh, you don't think that Tommy Pham went to Arenado and said, hey...
Not yet.
Come on, Nolan. Do the right thing.
Do you think that will be a conversation at a certain point?
Then Arenado can switch to number 5.
Maybe they can do a fantasy football bet on it.
Oh, that's a good idea. Be careful, Nolan. That one just flew right over you guys' head.
Oh,
Arenado switching to number 5.
Oh, I didn't even hear that portion of what you had said. You just snuck that one in there.
It's not retired.
Yeah, I don't think that would be a good idea, Randy.
Okay.
Just saying.
It's a good number for a third baseman.
You're right about that. I was thinking too hard about my fantasy football joke. I needed to sneak at least one of those jokes in here when talking about Tommy Pham. Also, is it convenient that he's joining right before fantasy football season?
It's perfect. Yeah, now all we need is Jock Peterson to be on a team that the Cardinals play the rest of the season.
Yeah. You need that to happen.
Punch-out action there.
Oh, no.
Oh, no, I'm not.
Weren't there people
back
who
to
said...
Trevor Bauer jokes?
Oh, Randy.
What?
No. No.
Well, I thought it was a Mike Tyson punch-out joke.
Nope.
I really wish I could never beat Mike Tyson. I was a child when I was actually playing that game. Unlike the adults who were like, I beat him when I was a kid. You were 15 playing that game. I was 7. We're different. Sorry.
We can do this on a balloon party.
We can. Because it's not really us. It's balloon party us.
Balloon party us, yeah.
We're different. Yeah, we're talking about Teslas and how ugly our punch-outs, different things like that.
Yeah, somebody on the YouTube chat thought I liked the triangle Tesla.
Yeah, they don't know how to read you very well.
Yeah. It's not,
would you drive it?
I would never, no. Well, I would test drive one.
Can we do that? I do want to see. Yeah. So the person around town who has it, I know that there's probably multiple people, but I feel like it's also the same person. Can they text in and tell us what is so special about it? Because I really am not sure what the difference is other than the shape, which freaks me out.
I think rather than saying what's so special about it, just tell us what the hell you were thinking.
I think, well, it does stand out. So if you want a vehicle that really stands out, and strikes you, which is how sharp it is. It's very sharp looking, literally.
Yeah. Oh, it looks, like a knife. Is it, do we know the name of it, by the way? I just call it the triangle.
The Tesla Cybertruck?
Is it a Cybertruck?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Cybertruck's the name of it.
Okay.
Am I wrong?
Weird.
We also were discussing this during the break. What is a vehicle that you would like to come back, that is discontinued, a vehicle that you would like to come back?
That's next on the balloon party on 101 ESPN.
This is Rocc here with your SportsCenter update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The Cardinals are back in action for Game 2 of their series against the Rangers tonight. Max Scherzer faces off against Lance Lynn. But before that, you can catch up on all the trade deadline news as we take you up till the 5 p.m. trade deadline right here live on 101 ESPN. And if you're unable to catch any of the interviews today, you can always go back and check out the podcast, the Dobbs Tire Auto Center podcast. Specifically today on the opening drive, you will have interviews with Cardinals beat writer John Denton and out of Chicago, Jesse Rogers. That is your SportsCenter update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an independent American Stand heating and air conditioning dealer.
So, Brooke, when I was like 17 or 18, I wanted to buy a 1976 blue Cadillac Eldorado convertible. I thought it was the coolest car in the world.
That is a really cool car.
So that's what I would like to have brought back.
I'm trying to think. So you had told me, because my first reaction was the Beetle.
Yeah.
But you said that it's back?
I think you can still buy one.
I've seen like a couple every once in a while, but I thought that they quit making those.
They did for a while, and then I think they brought them back. Text in if you have or know of a Volkswagen Beetle, and if you're at Dean Team or whatever, Dean Team VW, text in if you have the Beetle. 314-399-9646, 314-399.
Yo-ho!
For the car that you want brought back.
I had, my first car was a Pontiac G6, I believe, two-door. Mm-hmm. I'm sure my dad can correct me on that, but it was red. I remember that thing. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. I miss Pontiac, actually.
I do, too. My first car was a Pontiac Firebird Formula, 1976.
That's another one. Somebody said El Camino.
El Camino is fun. Yeah, that's Adam Wainwright is a big fan of the El Camino. I think Adam's going to join us tomorrow, is he not?
Yes.
So
yeah, Adam Wainwright is scheduled to join us tomorrow for a little re-hit of Wednesdays with Wayno at 9:30.
Okay,
nice.
Good.
As we get his opinion on one of his former teammates.
Yeah.
I'm sure he'll have something good there.
Yachty said his thing. Wayno said his thing. I said my thing. Boy, that blue 1976 Eldorado convertible is just a beautiful vehicle.
AMC Gremlin is another text that we got.
My parents had a yellow AMC Gremlin. It was an interesting little car. A good little car.
I like the shape of it. You know, you would think that I would hate this, but I actually like the shape of it. And now I'm looking at a picture where it has the anatomy of a gremlin, the car, and not the movie. And, and it looks like you can fit people in nicely. It even has a dog in the trunk. Which
there you go.
There you go. Yeah. I kind of I like the retro style of this.
There's just some people are just sending in things. This is actually going to be my hill to die on. It's just like with cars and stuff like that. There are some things that are I know it's taste, so it's all subjective. Beauty's in the eye of the beholder. I reject that. There are some things that are objectively true, even with subjective things.
Okay.
And one of them is certain things like somebody threw in 1968 Chevelle SS all black. That is unequivocally a beautiful car. I don't care what your opinions on cars are. I don't care if you like more square cars or more round cars. That is a beautiful car, and if you disagree, I won't say I disagree with your opinion. I'll tell you are wrong.
So the Chevy Chevelle, I believe, and the Pontiac Le Mans were on the same chassis. Yes. And I had a 1970 Le Mans convertible that was fantastic. It was the fastest car I've ever owned. So bought it. A guy couldn't finish rehabbing it, so he did all the engine stuff. That's monster amazing. Engine, and then we got it and puttied it up and painted it, and it was beautiful.
What color did you have it
was fast. Blue, medium blue. It was great.
Get the hell out. So it's like literally like...
Yeah.
Let me see.
Yep, that's it.
Oh my God, that's the beautiful. That's such a beautiful car.
That is gorgeous.
I would, if honestly, like my dream is when I'm older is to be one of those old dudes who has like a super nice like old school convertible from the 50s, 60s, or 70s. This would be in my top 5 of if I like the dream ones I could have in the future. A 1970 Pontiac Le Mans in maybe a little bit more like electric blue than what we're looking at right now. Oh, I would die for that, Randy. That car is beautiful.
It was a great car. I loved it.
That's a beautiful car.
Somebody says Trans Ams are sick. And they are. Those were cool. I had a Firebird Formula for my first vehicle, an orange one. And I was telling you during the break, Brooke, that my friend Rick Griffin out at Past and Present Auto Repair in St. Charles, he finds cars all over the country. He can find cars for people. And we've been looking for one of these things for 10 years and can't find a Carousel Red 1976 Pontiac Firebird.
Have you checked eBay? Sometimes
eBay.
eBay,
Yeah, we check all the time.
everywhere. Yeah. You know what my dream car? So my first dream car was the Beetle, which somebody said is discontinued because when I was a little girl growing up, I remember all the cool teenage girls had Beetles, and so I thought that was like the peak of if you're a cool girl, you have a Volkswagen Beetle. I loved those cars. As I've gotten older, I love the FJ Cruisers. I wish they would bring those back. Toyota.
FJ Cruisers.
You haven't seen that?
FJ Cruiser?
Really?
Oh, those.
You've seen those.
Okay.
Yeah.
Isn't that just a Range Rover?
No, but Toyota is so reliable and it lasts for so long. I love the Toyota FJ Cruisers.
Somebody else, we've had somebody texting multiple times. They wish the Honda Element was back. And I hope you accidentally turn down a one-way street and then drive very fast.
Oh,
Good
come
Lord,
on.
my guy.
What's wrong with that?
Yeah, I'm saying the person needs a new car.
Yeah. By the way, Brooke, the last Beetle was discontinued in 2019.
The Pontiac Aztec is the ugliest vehicle ever.
That was not great.
No, that's so bad.
Pontiacs are pretty much only... Pontiac might be the most 0 or 100 brand at the time. Every Pontiac was either a gorgeous car or the ugliest thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah.
If I was only throughout the original Pontiac GTOs is a great example.
Bring it back, honestly. Bring it back.
Maybe not all the
Saturns? Somebody said a Saturn. Those things would last. A Ford Pinto.
Oh,
yes.
yeah. Nothing better than a car that blows up in minor rear and fender benders. Yeah, hey, I mean, you can buy a Tesla.
I think that's what my mom had. And yes, the explosion thing is very real. It was either my mom or my aunt had one of those, and it definitely happened.
Somebody sends in a picture of their 68 Camaro. That's a cool car, the 1968 Camaro.
That is such a perfect car. It's such a well-done car.
It is really well done.
Good color,
They don't make them like they used to.
They really don't. They also don't make them with steel anymore. Isn't that correct?
True, yep.
I was telling you a story about my grandmother. She had, I don't even know, everybody knows, the grandparent old Cadillac car, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she had that thing forever, and she got in a car accident with a truck, and she came out just fine. The truck got damaged. So I miss those kind of vehicles.
Somebody sent in the a 1960 Lincoln Continental, which is, if you ever watched Entourage, I'm pretty sure it's a Lincoln Continental that Johnny Drama has because he has the suicide doors. A great looking car that I would never drive because it looks like a freaking boat. It looks like driving it would be an absolute hellscape of just trying to make a left turn and being like, am I going to clip any cars as I try to get through this intersection? That thing looks huge.
A V8 Goblin?
Oh, God.
Yeah.
What is that?
70 Nova. Huh. Oh, here we go. An 82 Olds Cutlass with a 350 rocket engine. There you go.
Oh, my God. Well, I had a friend in the early 2000s who had a 1991 Oldsmobile Cutlass, and much like to Brooke's point, he could have gotten into an accident with a semi, and he would have come out the winner of that accident. That thing was just a hunk of steel with 4 wheels on it.
Yeah. Luckily, hers wasn't a semi. I think it was just it was a truck, but still, those things were seriously.
1970s Chevy Nova is actually a really cool looking car.
Yeah, pretty cool. Yeah, very nice. I think that was the same. No, the Chevelle, the Nova was a different chassis. Yeah. From the 314, you guys are making Tim and Piddles proud. LOL. It's a balloon party after all.
What do you think is Tim's dream car?
Probably a Ford Maverick.
Piddles?
Piddles, he's probably going with a Deuce and a Quarter, Buick Deuce and a Quarter, 1978. Black.
I was going to go with something like BMW, a Lexus.
Oh, that might be.
An Audi,
He's a Ledoux guy, that's right.
Like you can't
a
have
Ledoux guy.
You can't have fast food, and you do need a nice car to drive around those streets. I think it's a rule, actually.
Do you eat in your cars? Do you know people who do not eat in their cars? Because I do.
I eat in my car all the time.
I know people who grew up in Ledoux.
Yeah, there's some people who do not eat in their car. I think I have to be able to eat my car.
What about drink in the car? Does anybody not drink in their car? You'd have to be able to drink in your car. Not drink alcohol.
No one said it. I know somebody who has a who refuses to eat or drink food in their car.
I do too. Yes.
And I'm like, that's fine. You're never picking me up. We're never going on a road trip. In fact, we're never going on a drive that lasts longer than 12 minutes.
I feel like I would get very nervous.
So.
I do know somebody who, and the car is very expensive, so fair. I understand you don't want to damage that, but then what's the purpose of having a car if you can't enjoy it? If you can't eat? Well, I mean, you have to go through a McDonald's drive-through.
Some point.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did know a guy back in the day when a different time. Who lived in Iowa. I said, how long of a drive is that? And he said, it's about a 2 6-pack drive.
No. No.
Yeah.
Dream car is a Viper.
Yeah, I saw a couple of those on the old text line.
Somebody said Piddle's a minivan. Come on.
No.
A minivan.
No, Jackson's at least 5 years away from having kids.
He's buying across the street at Plaza Jaguar Land Rover, right?
Jackson would look good in a Range Rover.
Okay. Would he or would he not drive a Tesla Cybertruck?
Jackson?
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
You don't think so?
Absolutely not.
Okay, so we've done our previous dream car. If you could get any car made now, what would it be? What is your car that is in production right now? So we're going to give you an unlimited amount of funds to go out and buy a car that is made now.
Oh, that.
Is it going to be the?
I gotta make sure it's still being made. Actually, hold on.
Okay. What's the? I'm probably not going Tesla. I hate the idea of having to spend 20 minutes to fill up my battery. I'm not going electric.
I will take the new Rolls-Royce Phantom, and I'll be fine.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Also, I mean, the thing with nowadays, it's just like,
Rolls-Royce Phantom.
Let me pull up the entire website for Bentley, and you can throw a dart at it, and I'll be happy.
Yeah.
Like they're all beautiful cars,
right?
Rolls-Royce.
But I'd go with Rolls-Royce Phantom.
So you would need a driver for this, though, right?
Usually, people who have Rolls-Royces have drivers for them. Yes. I'm pretty sure the only other Rolls-Royce Phantom in St. Louis is owned by Nelly. So yes, it would be weird that I would be driving myself around with it, but I don't care. I've always wanted that car.
Oh no! I kind of opened up the door for some of the texts about Tim and Piddles and what they'd be driving. Piddles is a Prius guy.
Oh. Yeah, that makes sense.
Somebody said Jackson's driving a Saab, and that's a good joke.
Somebody said Tim's favorite car is a Hot Wheels car because he fits. Come on.
I was wondering who was going to make the joke. I'm proud of you guys.
Come on in.
Hey, buddy.
Who is it?
Jackson. I think you would look great in a Subaru or a Saab.
We're trying to think of your dream car. And first question, do you eat in your car?
I'll have, if I get some fast food, I'll eat some fries from the bag, but that's about the extent of it. I don't do meals in the car.
Okay.
I got time.
But if you're in a rush or you're in a parking lot, like sometimes I go over to Chick-fil-A.
Sure.
And you are just ready to eat that food now because it's hot and fresh and it smells delicious. You don't just pull over in the parking lot and eat your Chick-fil-A food there.
They have consoles simply so that you can put Chick-fil-A sauce on it.
Yes.
I understand what you're saying. I think actually there's two foods that keep hot better than anything in the world. It's Chick-fil-A and Chinese food. Yep. You could have Chinese food drive 45 minutes. It comes out piping hot. I don't know how they do it. Right. I don't know how it works. Incredible. And Chick-fil-A with the little foil bag, it always stays warm.
Yeah.
But I'll eat the waffle fries on the way home, so I don't like to fully sit. But I did hear Rocc saying, well, they're just taking shots. I mean, I'm not even on the air
today. Oh, so you came in here to fight.
Which shot are you talking about? I threw like 8 in there in the last minute.
I just got peppered for 3 hours on TMA.
Yeah. I decided to continue with it.
No balloon party today. At least I can survive that. And
you thought.
Was it the Ledoux shots, or was it specifically about you?
The wispy hair. I mean,
the wispy.
Dream car, though. Dream car.
Oh, that's a good question. I was just telling Mike Ryder, I watched the show Shrinking on Apple TV. Great show with Jason Segel. He drives a 1971 Bronco convertible that I think is awesome.
There you go. Cool.
And if I lived in like San Diego or wherever they live in California, that's what I would drive. If it was nice weather all the time, the 1971 Bronco. If not, Aston Martin like James Bond.
Oh, wow.
Good calls.
Yeah,
well
fancy.
done.
Aston Martin, like I said,
DB11.
Aston Martin, Bentley. It's like if you just pull up any car that they make, I'd be like, okay, sure. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Good deal. We're going to head down the stretch of this edition of the Balloon Party next on 101 ESPN.
I mean, on a day where the Cardinals have added two pieces are going to be big down the stretch, and Eric Fedde, who will go into the rotation sometime this weekend, and then a guy that everybody, I think, who knows him wants to see come back and be a part of this organization in Tommy Pham. I think these are two big pieces. I don't think they're finished. I think if they can find another deal that makes sense and somebody they can add to the bullpen, that deal will be made. But the Cardinals got better today. They suffer a tough loss tonight.
And Joe Buck last night on Bally, and that's the bottom line. When you make a trade, you want to get better. Sure, you'd love to get the superstars. You'd like to make that deal that the Dodgers made a few years ago when they got Scherzer and Turner, although it didn't lead to them winning the World Series. But you'd like to make the big, bold moves. But if you can't make the big, bold moves, and there really hasn't been one made so far this trade deadline season, what you want to do is get incrementally better. Is Eric Fedde going to be one of the Cardinals' 5 best starters? No question about it. Is Tommy Pham better against left-handed pitching than anybody else the Cardinals have had this year, except for Wilson Contreras? Absolutely. So the Cardinals got better yesterday when they made that move. And like Joe said, hopefully they can get one more piece, at least one more piece, and reinforce their bullpen a little bit too.
Tommy Pham's OPS against lefties this season, 848, and career-wise, 834. So you did get better. And Tommy Pham also adds the layer of what we keep talking about, the clubhouse and being a sandpaper kind of guy in there, adding that grit. And he knows these guys. I know that a lot of people keep saying over and over again, like, oh, he's been bounced around with different organizations and that he must be a cancer in there. The players aren't saying that with this Cardinals clubhouse. Once again, they were the ones who talked about wanting to add him to this team.
That's the big thing that jumped out to me from Joe Buck's comments there was him talking about how good he's going to be and how many people in the organization are happy to have him back. For all the people here who are pointing out, well, he's been traded multiple times. I bet he's a cancer in the locker room. For all the times we've got that text today, which has been a lot, to then hear Joe Buck make that statement about how people in the organization are excited to get him back, I'm going to roll with Joe Buck's comments more than the worrisome of just like the ether of like, well, what happens because the guy got traded? Why did he get traded? That pales in comparison to that kind of support from a guy like Joe Buck, who knows Tommy Pham, who knows organizations in baseball, and who definitely knows the Cardinals organization. This is a home run, not just because on the field. I absolutely think this is a huge factor inside the locker room, and that's going to be a big part of it.
And sometimes guys get traded because other teams want their leadership ability. There was a guy in the 70s named Don Baylor who got traded from Baltimore to Oakland between 75, 76. Then he goes to the Angels for a few years, goes to the Yankees for 3 years, goes to Boston, Minnesota, Oakland again. And every time he got traded, it was because the team that he got traded to desired his leadership ability. He was the furthest thing from a cancer. He wound up being the manager. He was a hitting coach here, wound up being the first manager of the Colorado Rockies, and just a great guy and a tremendous leader. Nobody ever called him a cancer. He got traded because other teams wanted him because he had that leadership ability. And I think, like you said, Brooke, that Tommy Pham brings an element that the Cardinals don't have. That sandpaper, hating losing, I think that'll be very valuable for this young group of Cardinal players, not only now, but into the future. Some of these guys need to be taught how to lose. Tony La Russa, every player that played under him, they had to hate losing.
Yes.
Right? Because that's just who Tony was. Well, not that Ollie doesn't. Ollie just is. Ollie's a really nice guy. And you ask Ollie how he's doing in that afternoon, he'll say, I'm doing good. We ask Tony, he'd say, ask me at 10:30. Because his day was defined by winning or losing. And they're just different. But I think having the Chris Carpenter type of players, the Yadier Molina type of players, the great players, anybody who hates losing, that's a good guy to have on your team. One other quick point here. The reason that The Greatest Show on Turf was so great, the talent was a huge part of it, but they hated losing.
Even look at the 2019 Blues Stanley Cup team.
There you go.
I mean,
Great
you had
example.
a lot of grit in that room. You had a lot of leadership. You had a lot of different voices in there. And you had a lot of guys, though, with those very strong personalities. The first one that comes to mind, I would say, is Alexander Steen. He was a very straightforward guy. Now staying, of course, with the Blues organization. He was very straightforward, and he had kind of that sandpaper personality. You need stuff like that in your locker room and in your clubhouse. I think it'll be a great addition. Also, Tommy Pham, just from a media standpoint, and Randy, you can attest to this as well. I think a lot of people think, oh, maybe he's kind of rude because he's so straightforward. He is never rude. He was always readily available, would have amazing. I mean, if you're looking for great post-game comments, Tommy Pham is your guy because he will say whatever's on his mind. There's no filter, and he's not being even rude about it. He's just being direct.
Yeah, he's and raw and honest as you can ever
raw.
hope. I've been stabbed. Our sandpaper, Danny Mac, will return tomorrow. Great job today by our producer, audio, video engineer, the one, the only Matthew Rocchio.
Pleasure.
Brooke, did you have fun today?
Yes.
We thank you for tuning in, texting in, and being a part of our shows, Opening Drive and Balloon Party. BK and Ferrari are next until 2 o'clock for all of us. We thank you for tuning in, texting in, and being a part of it. Till tomorrow morning at 7. Have a great Taco Tuesday, St. Louis.